take our seats.
This year, Black Friday and Christmas shopping is coming straight forward from the USA. Here.
Okay, thank you. So again, once again, we welcome you all to this our breakfast meeting, and request that as I know we're joining in, and breakfast is being served. So to set us off, we can continue serving breakfast as we continue. To set us off, let me request Mary Mooney to lead us in the opening prayer. Very good.
Good morning. Let us bow down for a word of prayer. Everlasting Father, in the name of Jesus, we come before you. We are filled with thanksgiving for granting us yet a new day. We thank you for this morning. We thank you for the day that is before us. And we thank you also for each one of us. Thank you for the guests that you have brought from far, and even for those who have come from near. We thank you for each one of us, and we pray that, Lord, you may be with us. We thank you for this forum. We want to commit it to you as we share experiences and as we build each other with the knowledge and skills and experience. We pray. May you guide us, may you lead us. Thank you for our presenters. We commit them to you. Even as they share with us, Lord, we ask that you be with them. May you also be with us in this forum. May your presence abide with us. And we ask that at the end of it all, we shall gain insights, we shall gain knowledge and understanding, even to support enterprises in the areas that you have praised us. We honor you and we praise you, for we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you so much, Mary, for the prayer. Once again, welcome to this breakfast meeting convened by the Kenya State Development Community of Practice. This is a forum that provides an opportunity for us to share knowledge, exchange ideas, all geared towards improving our skills development in the country. So I want also to welcome our online participants. I know we have quite a number from the sector, the space, the Tibet space. So all they are feel welcome. So as we continue, I want to give maybe some housekeeping announcements for our convenience room. We have them across on our left. So just walk through that door and you'll be able to find those facilities. There's a registration form going around. Kindly ensure that you register. And also on your tables we have a QR code and the password and for the Wi-Fi. So we have Wi-Fi. So ensure that you are connected. So otherwise, I want to once again welcome you. And like I said, in the interest of time, we'll keep moving. I will request that before we begin, we do self-introductions. And I want us to introduce ourselves by giving your name, the organization where you work in, and also your role in that organization. So I would request if we have a mic, I think Mike can go. Let me request Alex to assist me. Alex, please get a mic and you pass it around the tables. Kindly, I think there's a mic there, so that, so for the purpose of the introductions. Please pick the mic up there. Okay. So here we have invited stakeholders on this aspect of quality apprenticeship, and we also have the co-working group for the Kenya Skills Development Community of Practice. So maybe we'll introduce, and then later we'll also have the co-working group make the introduction. So kindly, let's go. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Bodeu Kasanga from the Kenya Private Sector private life, I run a technical training institute in Emali town, Makueni County. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Priscilla Kerebi, also from the Kenya Private Sector Alliance. I'm the Vice Chair of Education. I focus on TVET, and I know most people here, they know me as that, but I also work at Express Communications Limited. Yeah, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Linda Kasina. I'm a member of the Education Sector Board at KEPSA. I'm also the Chief Principal of Kibondeni College, Kimlea College of Hospitality, and Tewa School of Hospitality. And I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Emmanuel from Media Crest Training College. So we are marketing and digital skills college. Good morning. My name is Humphrey Otwande from Media Crest Training College. I'm the head of programs in the institution.
Good morning. My name is Mary Kaputi. I work for Teachers Service Commission at the Division of Human Resource Development. Currently in charge of the capacity building of the Secretariat staff at TSC. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Dennis Wakapa from the E-Mobility Association of Kenya, and also I'm an e-mobility consultant. Basically, I know it's a new thing. We want people to transition from fossil powered vehicles to electric vehicles with the interventions of two things. You save climate and you save money. I'm happy to be here talking about training and skills. Okay.
Good morning. I'm David Wafula from Kenya Medical Training College. I'm the Deputy Registrar Curriculum, so I'm in charge of curriculum development and review. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Janet Mutiri from the State Department for Industry. I am an industrial officer.
Good morning. My name is Brenda Oliveri from the State Department for Industry, where I work as an industrial development officer.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Brenda Olanda, and I work with the team authority. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Gideon Morena from the TVET project.
Good morning. My name is James Moman from TVET authority.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Bashir Mugai from the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce.
Good morning. Kebra Nagasan from TVET authority.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. My name is Kasagiro Adogo, the Director of Innovation and Incubation Center, United States International University, also team leader for Impact Africa Academy that we are implementing through the center. And while I'm here today, we are also leading a project funded by USAID called Employment Youth Access Employment Project. And we're working with about a number of TVETs to create employment for 16,000 youth in the next 4 years by supporting both private and public TVETs in infrastructure development, curriculum design, which is geared towards labor-driven career courses. So I know some of the TVETs here have been reached out. We are working in 4 sectors. We have health, IT, and pharmaceuticals. But the labor market survey demand we just finished has told us to introduce hospitality and tourism. Thank you.
morning. Good morning. My name is Joy Kamau from Tibet Authority. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jeffrey Baraka from Tibet Authority.
Good morning once again. My name is Mary Bunyi from the Tibet Authority.
Good morning. My name is Peter Bora from Tibet Authority. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Francis Beto from the Kenya Association of Manufacturers Tibet Project.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Victor Diambo, Director, Learning Technology Solutions. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Stephen Kisanya from Railway Training Institute, Academic Registrar's Office. I'm the Industrial License Office.
Good morning. Emmanuel Choge, I work with the GIZ Tibet Project. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Juliet Tai from ICE Africa Data Center, HR.
Good morning. I am John Nair from Cascade Institute of Hospitality. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Margaret Wu from Public Service Commission, Deputy Director, Human Resource Management and Development.
Good morning. My name is Emmanuel Maite from the Kenya Institute of Highways and Building Technology. I'm Deputy Principal Network Partners.
Good morning. My name is Boniface Eno from the Civil Station, the Kenya Institute of Highways and Building Technology, Executive Principal.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Stella Okemo from Tibet CEDAC. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Lucy Waboko from the National Industrial Training Authority. I'm in charge of the Industrial Training Development.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Joseph Jero. I'm from National Industrial Training Officer. I'm from National Industrial Training Authority. I'm a training officer.
Good morning. My name is Alex Ricardo. Is there anybody who has not introduced themselves?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Robert Jeroge, representing Edimans.
From the public, the private sector, the social partners, the development partners. So I want to really appreciate all of you for honoring our invitation to be part of this very important engagement on quality apprenticeship. This Kenya Skills Community, Kenya Skills Development Community of Practice is a young baby that started this year. And we are making progress. We had a launch in August, and we've had quite a number of activities. I want to, on that onset, invite the co-working group of this Kenya Skills Development Community of Practice. If we have the members of the co-working group, maybe we would ask them or request them to be upstanding and maybe give us their names and the organization they represent. So kindly, I want to request any member of the co-working group that is here to stand up so that we can recognize you. Any member of the co-working group? Wow, co-working group of Kenya Skills Development Community of Practice. Okay. Okay. Alex, I request that you give a mic. Okay. exhausted. James? Yes, I think James Momani is a member of the working group, and also Evans. I'm also in the, yeah, please give. Yeah. James, members of the working group.
Good morning once again. Sorry, I was speaking towards. My name is James Momani, a member of the co-working group, and together I work in the corporate communication department. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. So we have quite a number. I think we have over 20 members in the working group representing various stakeholders in the community of practice. So for the online participants, you may not have the opportunity to have introduction, but we'll be able to capture your attendance. So feel welcome. So allow me to invite Dr. Paul Wanyeki to give us welcoming remarks and maybe give us more information about the Kenya Skills Development Community of Practice. So a round of applause for Daktari as we welcome him in. Karibu sana Daktari.
Thank you, John. Good morning, everyone. As you have heard, my name is Paul Wanyeki. I work with the Tibet Authority, and also I lead this initiative of Kenya Skills Development Community of Practice. First of all, receive warm welcome from our Director General who has been supporting this initiative, Dr. Kipkui Langat, and agreed us to form a community of practice on skills development. I'll give a small brief about a community of practice, and these are people who have same interest, that is skills development. They come together to form a community so that they can share how to further the practices in their community. This community of practice was launched on 15th of August of this year. And so far we have held one breakfast meeting which was on RPL, and we invited stakeholders that we found were relevant in RPL. The community of practice was established because of about 6 objectives. And one of the objectives of the community of practice is to facilitate the sharing, dissemination, and documentation of knowledge, best practices, and experiences. As our communities just to facilitate, we bring people like-minded, they come in a common venue like this, then they share what is in their common interest. We also promote lifelong learning and professional development, because through such, there's lifelong learning. Definitely each of us, when we leave this venue today, will have learned 1 or 2 things about our thematic discussion today, which is quality apprenticeship. We also have the objective to develop innovative solutions to improve practice through collaboration and promotion of standards and best practices, as we need to discuss. We promote innovations, there will be innovation solutions, and maybe recommendations that might go to form policy. Because that's how, from here, we can develop maybe policy documents and forward it as a community of practice. Also to build relationships and connections and foster supportive community and networking. For example, one of us already has asked me, how can I get the contacts of all these people? You see, that is connection, because while he was listening to the introduction, here there is NITA, there is CAM, there is Teacher Service Commission, Public Service Commission was also invited, Police Service Commission was invited. So there is people from the industry. So there is also the bit of networking, and you get all the necessary networks that you require. Also, in terms of in the terms of reference, there are quite a number of terms of reference, but I'll read one. That is to provide a forum for the stakeholders and other social partners to exchange perspectives on the global, regional, and national actions required to accelerate the transformation of skills narrative in Kenya. You can see, like today, our thematic discussion is one of the international areas where the international community is trying to push the issue of quality apprenticeship. So the skills development community of practice, as it was mentioned, it has a co-working group which meets to plan such breakfast meetings. And we have structured the community in terms of thematic areas. We have 4 thematic areas that the community of practice usually discuss on or organize breakfast meetings on. One is recognition of prior learning, which we did about 2 weeks ago. We also have interest in sector skills, communities, and committees. Sector skills, committees, and committees. That will be essential in development of occupational standards, and I'm glad to announce that there will be a breakfast meeting like this on 5th of December. On 5th of December, it will be here at Bomas, and we'll be discussing the sector skills committee. Then we have the one on quality apprenticeship, and we are here today convened for the purpose of this thematic discussion, quality apprenticeship. And lastly is TVET policy. TVET policy, where everyone meets in this venue to discuss the TVET policies. Are they working for us? Do we need additional policies? What can we do so that we enhance this? So today, I'll discuss about the quality apprenticeship and welcome you to this breakfast meeting so that we can have a discussion on quality apprenticeship. From it, we can have recommendations. Different sectors, different players, different actors can see how to implement the recommendations, because the recommendations or policy will be directed to the relevant persons, agencies, or ministries and departments. Quality apprenticeship in Kenya, we have been using the word apprenticeship, which has been happening. Both formal, informal apprenticeship has been going on. But from last year, ILO has been pursuing the issue of quality apprenticeship. So we want to listen to experts from international labor organizations so that they can be able to tell us about quality apprenticeship. And I take this opportunity to thank ILO, because they are the one who have sponsoring the Kenya Skills Development Community of Practice through the Prospects Project, which has been sponsoring. And I know the technical advisor, the chief technical advisor for the project, Ms. Karen Njuki, she's following us, and she'll be able to give her remarks virtually. This quality apprenticeship, somehow it has been happening in Kenya, but maybe we never knew what we are doing is called quality apprenticeship. Or maybe we were missing one or two aspects. And it has taken different forms. For example, GIZ through Gideon Mrenga, they have been promoting dual training. And dual training might be just a synonym of quality apprenticeship. That's why I said maybe we are doing quality apprenticeship, but maybe we are using different names or nomenclature. That's why we have also invited GIZ, so that as ILO, they are sharing what is quality apprenticeship, GIZ will be sharing dual training, then we see where do they meet and how can we harmonize the two so that maybe we can be pursuing one, maybe one interest or enhance one if it's lacking some few aspects, they will be able to tell us. And maybe even during the presentations from ILO and the GIZ, they will be able clearly elucidate if there is any difference and what can be done so that instead of running maybe two programs where we are having the quality apprenticeship and the dual or the other that are running parallel, we see how we can bring the two maybe together or if there is any challenges. The experts will be telling us. So for me is to greatly thank you for coming. Be open-minded. We have employers here, we have working space. As I mentioned, the people that I invited are people in the training and employers. Because remember, apprenticeship takes place in a premise. That's why we have Public Service Commission here, because it's an employer. If apprenticeship has to take place, it will take place in their premises. They have been running a very good program on internship. Also, how can it maybe be enhanced to be quality apprenticeship? That's why we invited the Teacher Service Commission also. They are a giant employment body. If we are talking about quality apprenticeship, we must bring all the employers on board because this training takes place in the workplace. They control the workplace. TSC at some point while they will be making maybe their contribution, they were pushing the idea of having a 1 year, was it 1 year internship? Something like that. How can that internship program also maybe be transformed or be done in a quality apprenticeship way? That's why we are here together with even the Police Service Commission and the industrial players who are on board, including KEPSA, CAM, and Grace Kaume was representing Federation of Kenya Employees. To this end, I want to welcome you again and wish you a fruitful discussion and maybe return back to Tor. I don't know whether Ms. Karen Juki has been able to join. Geoffrey?
Yes, Dr.
Yeah, thank you. Will you be making the presentation of Carol?
If hasn't joined, I can do a quick one.
Okay, thank you. Welcome, Geoffrey. Geoffrey is working with ILO and has been greatly supporting, and I mentioned ILO is the sponsor of Kenya's Peers Development Community of Practice and this breakfast meeting through the Prospect Project. Welcome, Geoffrey.
Thank you, Paul and Secretary, and morning everybody in the room. My name is Geoffrey, as Secretary has mentioned. I work with the International Labour Organization. I live in Nairobi. First of all, is apologies for Caroline. She has not been able to join, but nevertheless, we'll be providing a couple of facts what is novel initiative. And so, as you all know, the ILO is the United Nations Organization for World of Work. And we advocate for two principles, basically same work and social justice. And so, for matters quality apprenticeship, the ILO sees it as a quite critical tool to support skills development, youth employment, but also promote decent work as one of our mandates and advocacy issue. And decent work could be in line of aligning the principles of decent work, also ensuring that fair treatment, safety, and adequate learning opportunity for everyone and for apprentices for that matter. And so our engagement, even in different countries, as the ILO, we base this on international labour standards. And so far, Kenya has ratified Convention 142, which is looking at human resource development. And the convention basically looks at encouraging systematic professional training aligned to labour market needs. And for this, labour market needs are normally a lot when we speak about issues of skills management, when we speak about really employer participation and engagement in training, which is quite critical for apprenticeship systems. And it's supplementary of those recommendation 195, highlighting the importance of active training opportunities for all workers. And so, naturally, therefore, the issue of quality apprenticeship comes in handy in terms of looking at what level we align our training programs to the labor market needs. I know Albert has joined, he's going to break down the specific component of how the ILO looks at quality apprenticeship. But I must mention the first is the labor market needs, or ensuring that we are really training the population to be able to fit into the labor market, to be able to access employment opportunity, but also ensure they are globally recognized kind of competencies and skills. Two is the cooperation and collaboration between training institutions and industry. And so, in this case, we are looking at how can industry collaborate with training institutions from the level that we've assessed and identified the skills needs within the population. Then we are looking at how do we structure and even develop professional standards and curriculum that would be able to respond to the labor market needs and enhance labor market outcomes for our trainees. And so quality apprenticeships come in handy because they would definitely, and right now, as we mentioned, we have industry players in the room. And this is the right point, that then there's a little bit of collaboration between industry players, but as well as innovative institutions to be able to build our workforce. We also focus on this, especially when we realize an extensive kind of training programs, and so even apprenticeships themselves, so financing also comes in handy. And so for us, we see as an opportunity to also elaborate on providing the necessary resources that would go to quality apprenticeship, and that means that employers and government have to be encouraged to invest on quality apprenticeship systems. It could be through financial incentives, subsidies, tax benefits to employers, but at the same time, really employers providing the necessary workplace opportunities, but also resources for learning for different quality apprenticeship programs. And it could be different models, so it's how we balance the different financing mechanisms, and also looking at what already exists within the ecosystem in terms of financing of skills development opportunities. Lastly, as the ILO, we work under how we could be able to support each other to implement quality apprenticeship systems within the country. And so bringing together all these three arms of, having government and social partners, but on the same table, we are discussing, quality training systems, issues of access, and issues of, employability for our youth and the youth culture. Then we are in the right path to, find solutions to issues of skill development within the country. And so for me, this is just an initial discussion. So looking forward that we can now get deeper into different components of this thematic area and really bring out some of the issues, critical issues that then we are able to jointly address. But also employer see the value. I'm going to speak about our recommendation 208, which has a vast number of tools that could be used by both, ourselves, used by both government, but also employers and workers to advocate for quality apprenticeship systems, but also the technical support that comes from the ILO to support on really design and deliver a quality apprenticeship program would be critical as areas of collaboration and partnership going forward. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'll stop here and give it back to you, Dr.
Thank you very much, Geoffrey, for your very enlightening opening remarks and taking us through various recommendations from ILO that support skills development.
Secretary, for that introductory session, and also thank you so much, Geoffrey, for that session. Can we give a round of applause? Okay, thank you very much. We are going to the second session of our program, and here we'll be getting presentations from 3 experts on this topic of quality apprenticeship. In this session, we'll have presentations from 3 experts, like I've said. 2 of them will be joining us online, and one presenter is already with us here in the room. So to set us off, I will request Mr. Albert William O'Call that Bwana O'Call, as you make your presentation, kindly put on your camera so that the participants who are here can see you. We also request that you give us what you do, the organization where you work for, and give us your insights on this pet topic of quality apprenticeship. So, are we okay? Technical address? Okay. So, can we give a round of applause for Bwana Albert O'Call? Thank you. Welcome, Bwana O'Call.
Thank you, moderator, and good morning to all the community of practice participants. My name is Albert O'Call, and I work with the ILO. I am currently based in the ILO office in Pretoria, and as a skills and lifelong specialist covering Southern and East Africa, including Nairobi, Kenya. I'm very happy to join you this morning to share with you one of the newest, I would say, recommendations from the ILO, the recommendation number 208 of 2023 concerning quality apprenticeship. I hope my image is clear and also my voice is also very clear.
Yes, your voice is clear, and the image is also clear. We can clearly see you.
Okay, thank you so much. So, so I can start my presentation directly by maybe starting off from where Geoffrey ended, when he was highlighting the Convention on Human Resource Development, number 152. So for those who know how the ILO works, so we have 2 instruments that guides our work with member states and our social partners. And the first instrument is a convention. A convention is a legally binding standard that member states sign and adopt, and therefore once the member state has adopted it, then they are bound to report on its implementation annually during the International Labour Conference. A recommendation on the other side, binding, but it provides guidance to member states and social partners on different topics that concerns the world of work. And in this particular case, this recommendation is concerning quality apprenticeships which has become a topical issue globally, and more so even in Africa, where member states are trying to first strengthen private sector engagement in training, but also align training programs with the labor market dynamics. So apprenticeship is one of the methodology that has proven to be very, very successful in achieving those two goals. So it is a guide, it is not binding, but for countries and institutions that are interested and that want to either design or strengthen or expand apprenticeship programs, then this document is the document of reference that the ILO and through social dialogue developed and adopted last year. So I will just take you through on the coverage, the scope of the document itself, the key elements, and then for those who are interested in knowing the details, then we can provide a link to the recommendation as it reads. But just out of outward, I would say that every country in using the recommendation should consider the country's setup in terms of institutions, capacity that they have, and also the linkages and partnerships that exist between training institutions and the labor market. It also has to consider national laws and policy frameworks. So what is provided is a global framework that can be adopted as it is if the country feels that it fits their context, but also it can be modified to fit the context of a country. And sometimes countries can adopt some sections while they develop their own capacities to incorporate other sections as they move along. So that's how you can actually make use of it. So the recommendation title is the recommendation concerning college apprenticeship. It's called recommendation number 208 of 2023. It was adopted in June 2023, last year. So why did member states, including workers and employers, decided to adopt or develop and adopt a recommendation concerning quality apprenticeship? First is because of the awareness on the importance of quality apprenticeship in facilitating school-to-work transition, as I just mentioned, because it provides an opportunity where the training programs constantly interact with the world of work. And therefore, the level of alignment is it's very good at that particular stage. Secondly, to ensure that since apprenticeship, the larger part of training in apprenticeship program takes place at the workplace. The recommendation was needed to ensure that the working conditions and protections of apprentices are assured. And of course, there was no international standard for apprenticeship. The one that existed had been overtaken by time, and therefore there was a need for a new recommendation that take into consideration the development that has taken stage. Again, because of lack of international standard, then there was a regulation gap that member states felt that needs to be filled. And therefore, in 2018, the ILO governing body requested standard setting discussion, which is related to apprenticeship program. The purpose of the International Labour Standards for Quality Apprenticeship is to create, as I said, an enabling environment for promoting quality apprenticeship. And noting that member states was struggling and each some countries
we want to request that you present your presentation on presentation will be highlighted.
Oh, okay.
Yes, thank you, thank you.
Okay. Okay, I don't that icon here. Okay, it is down there. Do this and then I'll put it in the presentation mode first. Okay, now, okay. I think it's considered. Okay, I hope that is better now.
That is perfect. Thank you.
Yes, it's okay.
Yes, it's okay. Okay, thank you. Yes, so the other reason is to develop a quality of friendship as a pathway to decent work that Geoffrey referred to, believing that apprenticeship reduces the school to work transition and also promotes opportunity for young people to access decent working opportunity. Apprenticeship is also critical for promoting lifelong learning opportunities as well, especially for workers who would like to reskill or even upskill based on the changes that happens in the labor market. We can use apprenticeship also to promote resilience, transitions and employability, and also we can use apprenticeship also to prevent or address labor right violation. I apologize for the background noise. My office is near the highway, so that's the noise that you can hear. Okay, so this slide, I think I will not use it. This is just showing how a recommendation is developed in the IMO. So it's more of an institutional process that takes place until we have a recommendation, as I said, in June 2023. So normally there will be some questionnaires that is sent to member states, and I believe some members in the room might have received the questionnaire. I also want to point out that Kenya played a critical role during the discussions of the draft recommendations, because I think Kenya and Uganda were the co-chair last year, representing Africa Group when the provisions of these recommendations were being discussed during the International Labour Conference this year. So this is literally just a process that I think we can skip and move forward on. So the recommendations 208 has 7 sections, and these sections are actually very, very critical because they address the different aspects that you can think of when you are, conceptualizing apprenticeship program in your country. The sections are the definition. Often there is, a lot of, I would say, I don't know what's the word, a lot of concepts that are used interchangeably to mean, apprenticeship programs. In many countries, you find that some of them call it apprenticeship, others call it work attachment, others call it internship, others call it learner attachment, and there's so many things. So the first task of the recommendation was to, through dialogue, really determine what constitutes quality apprenticeship as a concept. So the first section of the recommendation deals with the definition, it deals with the scope and means of implementation. And then the second section deals with the regulatory framework that is required to govern quality apprenticeship in a country. And then the third section is addressing protection issues regarding apprentices at the workplace. As we say that one of its role is to promote protection of apprentices at the workplace. And then the fourth deals with an apprentice agreement, what should be contained in an apprenticeship agreement between the apprentice and also the company or the workplace that is providing the training. And then the fifth section addresses how we can make apprenticeship more inclusive, so it addresses issues of equality and diversity in quality and apprenticeships, so that we don't have standards that people say, oh, if you don't do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then that one is not quality apprenticeship. Section 5 actually addresses that. And then section 6 is how we can promote quality apprenticeship in the country, regionally, but also internationally. And then the last section, which is section 7, is talking about international, regional, and national cooperation for quality apprenticeship. So these are the main sections of this particular recommendation, and we'll briefly go through each of the sections one by one. So the definition, scope, and means of implementation covers these aspects. First is where apprenticeship can take place. There has been some discussions that apprenticeship can only take place in big, large, listed companies. But this recommendation says it can take place in all, quality apprenticeship can take place in all enterprises and sectors of economic activity, you see. And then the members can only have an effective apprenticeship program if they are able to give that effect through national laws and regulations and collective agreements and policies and programs or any other measures. But what they say is that there should be a framework that guides the quality apprenticeship design and implementation in the country. I mean, if that lacks, then you find that there's no coherence. You know, like any other training program, there should be a framework that guides the implementation and the interaction of stakeholders in that particular country. So that framework could be a law, it could be a regulation, it could be an agreement that is signed between parties that want to participate and contribute to the quality apprenticeship, or it could be a policy document, or it could be a program that is designed to guide that particular implementation, or any other measures that fits the national context, but that provides guidance. But then the other element of the scope and definition of quality apprenticeship is that the apprenticeship program should be designed in consultation with representatives of employers and workers' organizations in any format that exists in a given particular country. So it should not be a one person running the show, or either only government, or either private sector workers. It should be designed in consultation so that all the voices, because all these are critical stakeholders in quality apprenticeship programs, so all the voices are taken into account when discussing the framework and the policy and the program itself. So this slide wants to really articulate what quality apprenticeship is and what it is not. So, and we hope that after going through this slide, participants will be able now to distinctively identify quality apprenticeship from other workplace events or from other workplace learning programs. So the first element of quality apprenticeship is that it is a form of education and training. And that's very, very critical. And that form of education and training should enable an apprentice to acquire the competencies required to work in an occupation. And it consists of on-the-job and off-the-job learning. So if you find a program that is only all the time off the job, or all the time on the job, then you know that, okay, it may not be fitting the bill in this particular context. And that a quality apprenticeship should be governed by an apprenticeship contract or agreement between an apprentice and the company that is providing. And later on we'll see what is contained in that particular contract to appreciate why it is important to have it. It should be implemented through a structured and remunerated or otherwise financially compensated training. And I want to emphasize or otherwise, because in other countries, apprenticeship programs have failed to take off because one side of the partner is not willing or has defined remuneration in a narrow format, meaning that you have to give money to the apprentice. So the elements of otherwise financially compensated is very, very critical. Depending on what exists, which laws, which frameworks a country will have, and the dialogue that will take place, what this standard says is that there should be some remuneration or other means of financial compensation when apprenticeship program is implemented. And the final one, which is also very critical, is that the quality apprenticeship program must lead to a recognized qualification. And the word recognized qualification means it has to be recognized by the responsible authorities and key labor market stakeholders in that particular country. So this is the definition that articulates what apprenticeship is. And it's separated from other workplace-based learning program. The other section that we talked about is the need to have regulatory framework for quality apprenticeship. So we say that for an apprenticeship really to take roots and to be systematically implemented, policy, if we have an employment promotion policy, the quality apprenticeship should also be reflected or be made to be made coherent all these policies. And therefore, that leads us to establish a regulatory framework and qualification framework or system to facilitate recognition of competencies that are required to quality apprenticeship. So one or more public authorities for regulating new one, or it can be one of the authorities that already exists in the country. And that authority should have clear, defined responsibility. That authority should have adequate funding and should pursue collaboration with other authorities in education, training, labor market information, social protection, employment services, and occupational standard health. So what this section is saying is that we cannot talk of quality apprenticeship if it is not well hinged on existing regulatory framework, if it is not placed in a reliable institutional that can help coordinate, regulate, and promote a quality apprenticeship. Because in other countries, what you find that there's a lot of excitement, but if you ask, okay, who is really responsible for quality apprenticeship? What are the functions and roles? Where is funding coming from? You cannot find that answer clearly. So this section is really providing that guidance. And all these should be determined through social dialogue involving key labor market stakeholders, including workers and employers organizations, as defined in a particular country. And then the other element is that we all have seen that for a training program to qualify for quality apprenticeship, it has to have both on the job and off the job. And therefore, in our economies, not all sectors, as much as we say that all enterprises, all sectors, but these sectors are different in different countries. In some sectors, we find that maybe agricultural sector is far much advanced, has more private sector engagement. In others, we find it is tourism. In others, we find maybe it's energy or mining. So the first task that I think partners in the country need to determine is whether an occupation is suitable for quality apprenticeship. And you look at several other things. So one is, you know, what kind of competencies are we looking for that we want to develop in that particular occupation? And so once we determine the type of competencies, then we can decide, okay, what is the best way of developing these competencies? Is it through apprenticeship or is it through other means? And then the other element is the appropriateness of an apprenticeship as a means of acquiring such competencies, as I just said. Then the duration of that apprenticeship. And then the other thing is the current and future demand for skills and employment potential of that particular occupation, and expertise. Actually, it's expertise and readiness of employers and workers' organization to support such a skill. And then looking at emerging occupation fields and evolving production processes and services. So then the prosecution of the conditions to propose apprenticeship include membership, prescribed conditions under which enterprises may offer apprenticeships. So that is now the framework, when we were talking about the framework that will guide the establishment or implementation of apprenticeship. You have to tell enterprises conditions under which they can offer an apprentice. And then education and training institutions may provide off-the-job and on-the-job training, and intermediaries may coordinate, support, or assist in the provisions of apprenticeship. And I want to highlight element number C, because in many cases you find that people are quick to establish work-based learning programs, and somehow they forget that you probably might need to strengthen the coordination part, because you need sometimes you need a strong intermediary institutional organization that will play in between training institutions and also enterprises. Someone who would ensure that the vacancies in the enterprises are filled with the right people from the training institutions, and so on and so forth. So in some cases, programs fail because this particular role has not been clearly articulated, or it is not currently being done effectively. And if you see, the elements that are listed on my left side, I think it will be on your right side, then this gives you an idea of what elements to be considered when you are talking about the framework of an apprenticeship in a particular country. And then the regulatory framework, once it is established in a country, it should address the issues that you see on the screen. For example, in Kenya, what does the law say about the minimum age in which a person is supposed to participate in quality apprenticeship? What about the occupational health and safety elements when you are developing a quality apprenticeship? How will that be handled? What kind of education qualifications, attainments, or prior learning is required for someone to join or participate in quality apprenticeship, or when they do graduate, what level of qualifications or what kind of recognition will be provided, and then the responsibility of all parties. So we have training institutions, we have enterprises, we have the apprentices themselves, we have sometimes, in this case, the parents, if the apprentices, in other countries, the apprentices are allowed before they reach the majority age, and therefore maybe the parent might be invited to review or sign the contract and so on and so forth. And then the issues of who is going to supervise the apprentices at the company as well as at the training institutions. And then the issue of appropriate balance between apprentices and workers in the workplace. In some countries, there's been a tension when apprenticeship is introduced, because you find that companies use apprentices as an opportunity to lay off workers, because now they find cheap laborers. So there must be an agreement on the balance of workers in the company vis-a-vis how many apprentice companies can actually accept. Because if you find that you have more apprentices than the supervisors of the workers in the company, then you start wondering how the learning or training is going to take place. And then the duration of the apprenticeship based on the occupation and the competencies, the levels that you want to develop through apprenticeship. So you have to agree on the duration of the apprenticeship. and then how the apprenticeship may be reduced. That consistent learning outcomes and curricula that will guide the training program, a balance between off-the-job learning and on-the-job learning. All these elements need to be factored in when you are developing a regulatory framework for quality apprenticeship. Access to vocational guidance and career counseling for apprentices, the full qualifications and experience required for teachers, instructors, and other experts involved, the appropriate balance between apprentices and teachers, the procedure for assessing and certifying the competencies, and the qualification that is required for that. So this provides a framework that you have to consider when you're thinking of developing apprenticeship. So these are some of the elements that you need to consider. And again, this should be developed through a robust, systematic consultation process, which in ILO we call social dialogue between workers and employers, and of course other key stakeholders in the party. And then the other section that we talked about is on protection of apprentices. We mentioned the element of remuneration or other financial compensation, and also the issues of working hours for an apprentice, because unlike normal trainees in a training institution, the apprentice train at the workplace. So there's the issue of clearly identifying or respecting the working hours that has been also stipulated in the Kenyan labor laws in this particular context. Whether an apprentice is deserved or is entitled to holidays, whether they are entitled to be absent due to illness. We had a case in one country where apprentices were not allowed to, if they fell pregnant, then they would be discontinued, and so there was a heated discussion amongst the social parties. So these are some of the things that need to be factored in when you're developing the protection measures that will protect apprentices during the program. You see, so whether you have paid maternity or paternity leave, whether you have access to social security, or the protection and receivable training on OSH and discriminations, compensation of work-related injuries, complaints and dispute resolution, protection of personal data. So all these things need to be factored in when you are discussing or formulating your own national program. And you can find description of these elements in the recommendation itself that we make available. Now, we talked about having an apprenticeship agreement. What should be contained in the apprenticeship agreement? This is typically a contract. As we all know, contracts have different elements. So this is a written agreement between an apprentice and host enterprise or public institution. It may be signed by a third party, educational or training institution, an intermediary if permitted. So it will depend on the provisions that Kenya will put in place, or that Kenya already has, in who can sign an apprentice agreement. If the apprentice has reached the age of majority, then I think they are required to sign it by themselves after reading and understanding it. Otherwise, it can be signed by a third party, as you can see here. And these are the elements that we have. These are the elements that we have. The contract must articulate the roles and responsibilities, rights and obligations of all key parties in the agreement. It should articulate the place of apprenticeship, competencies and certification of qualifications to be attained, and any additional education support that is provided. No provision to restrict the apprentice opportunity for labor market mobility. So the recommendation is that you should not, because you have provided opportunity for apprentice, you should not block the apprentice for pursuing employment upon graduation. If they are willing to stay in your company, then they should stay on choice but not on. And then the contract should also articulate duration, remuneration, or financial compensation, frequency, hours of work, rest time, breaks, holidays, leave, OSH, social security, dispute resolution mechanisms, and termination. So all these elements need to be contained in this apprenticeship contract. So there might be variation depending on national laws, because then all these things will really depend on other relevant labor market laws and policy frameworks that already exist. But this is what the recommendation says should be contained in an apprenticeship, and that it should be signed at the end by the parties that are involved. And then the element number 5 is on equality and diversity, to make sure that our apprenticeship program is inclusive. It does not bar other people from accessing that for whatever reason. So equality, diversity, so exclusion factors such as disability, exclusion factors such as lack of the right qualifications, and so on and so forth, should be adequately addressed so that apprenticeship programs that we design and implement in our countries are actually inclusive and promote equality, taking special account of the situation and needs of persons belonging to the vulnerable groups, how the vulnerable groups are defined in Kenyan context. And so making sure that the program that you develop or the framework that is developed really also takes into consideration the diversity, the various needs of apprentices. Of course, we know the common denominator of inclusion is gender, so making sure that conditions, so the frameworks that we develop promotes gender equality and also balance in all aspects, including access to apprenticeship. Prevent and eliminate any discrimination and exploitation at the workplace during the training, and also promote, even for adults and experienced individuals. We have a tendency to believe that, and this was the traditional definition actually, that an apprentice is a young person. That was the traditional standard. But as we understand now, the labor market is changing so rapidly, and therefore even existing workers need to either upskill or reskill. And one mechanism through which adult workers can reskill is through college apprenticeship. So a framework that we develop should also factor that in, that we might be having adults who are interested to take up apprenticeship programs so that they can learn new occupations if the old occupations that they had are actually phasing out because of the labor market changes that is taking place. So promotion of access to quality apprenticeship as a means of facilitating transition from the informal, the formal economy, and from insecure to secure work. This refers very relevant for Kenya, given the big section of the Juakali section. So, if we have to establish a quality apprenticeship, we have to think of how can we support informal apprenticeship to transit to formal apprenticeship, and therefore transit to more formal qualification, and therefore more formal opportunities, more formal jobs for these people who have acquired their skills and trained in the informal sector. So the apprenticeship mechanism must factor in those aspects as well. And then the last one is the promotion of quality apprenticeship by creating an enabling environment for apprenticeship to grow. For example, alignment of apprenticeship with existing strategies and national goals, and priorities, and making sure that there are adequate resources to support training through apprenticeship program. If you link apprenticeship with vision, I don't know what Kenya has, if it is vision 2030, then you are sure that targets will be put, resources will be allocated, and that can help really expand apprenticeship program in Kenya. Promoting quality apprenticeship through sectoral or occupational skills bodies that Kenya is currently undertaking is also one of the areas where we can say, okay, one of the roles that sector skills bodies can help us, because they are likely representative of the industry, is for the members to take upon themselves to promote work-based learning programs, and in particular quality apprenticeship. We should establish robust mechanisms to assess the current and future demand for skills, to adapting apprenticeship programs accordingly, so that our apprenticeship programs that we design are actually informed by labor market trends and needs and demands. And we don't end up training and then people continue experiencing some mismatches in the labor market. We've talked about financing, the need to have good monitoring mechanism to make sure that the apprenticeship program actually is a quality apprenticeship program, so that we know that each and every individual perform their responsibility according to the established agreements, frameworks, and standards that we put forward. You can promote it through public-private partnerships, where each and every partner comes together and put in resources in a cost-sharing manner. And of course, we talked about the possibility of establishing intermediary bodies to help with coordination and performing some of the functions that we are highlighting here. Awareness raising to remove misconceptions from all sections of the society that people might have. First of all, for them to understand what college apprenticeship is, what is its objective and roles and contributions, and therefore what should they be contributing to. And then increasing awareness on rights and entitlements and protections, and establishing need-based pre-apprenticeship program. The pre-apprenticeship program here is actually those mechanisms that you put in place to make sure that those who are not qualified at a particular time to join a designed apprenticeship program get the right qualification. Let's say you design a quality apprenticeship qualification to start maybe with secondary school graduates, or someone with a diploma, or someone with a particular experience, and you have a section of the population which do not meet that entry criteria, then you have to design a mechanism, and one of them is to have a pre-apprenticeship program so that they acquire that requirement to join a full apprenticeship program. So this is part of the inclusion measures that can also be taken. And again, flexible learning pathways and career guidance, mentorship, integrating new technologies in promoting apprenticeship program. And recently, when I was in Kenya, we visited the Kenya School of Tibet, and they showed us how they are now doing, e-practical. They do pre-assessment sessions with their students. So, Kenya decided, okay, we want to monitor our apprenticeship through virtual platforms. We don't necessarily need to go and physically visit, So infusing technology in promoting quality apprenticeship would really help to improve the attractiveness, but also the quality of the programs, and also integrating trending topics such as just transition, digital economy. I know that the ambition that Kenya has in just transition, especially in the environment. So you could say, okay, can we promote just transition through quality apprenticeship, where we work with interested companies to provide training and competencies of our people. So these are some of the proposals that we have that can help promote quality apprenticeship. And by promotion, we mean we create an enabling environment. It could include also capacity development of medium and small enterprises, because not all enterprises have a tradition of hosting trainees or even guiding them. So they might need assistance with tools, training, experience, training methodologies, so that they are able to effectively and qualitatively monitor the programs. And also strengthening partnership with SMEs, so they are more receptive to accepting students and trainees. So these are some of the elements that we can have to help promote transition from informality to formality in the context of quality apprenticeship. And the last one, I think my presentation is taking too long, is international, regional, and national cooperation for quality apprenticeship. As we say that, for apprenticeship really to have a meaning in a country, it cannot stand in isolation. You have to cooperate with other key stakeholders in the education and labor market sectors. But also we have to pursue cooperation so that we can exchange with other countries, countries that have done very well, that can share with us good practices in implementing quality apprenticeship. It might be on governance, it might be on quality assurance, it might be on capacity development, it might be on tools. So that cooperation really can help a country to improve the capacity that they have. And then the issues of recognition of apprenticeship competencies and qualifications. This is very, very critical for young people, especially who are pursuing recognized qualifications. So an apprenticeship program must lead into a qualification that is respected and that is also recognized. That would be an incentive for people to participate in an apprenticeship program. But also making sure that we expand more opportunities for apprenticeship program for more people by factoring in the inclusivity elements, factoring in access to sustainable funds and institutional capacity developments that needs to be taken into place. So I think this would be my last slide concerning the recommendation that we have. And as we said, we will make available the recommendation in its entirety. It's a public document now that's been adopted by member states for participants in this room, but also Kenyans at large to read if they're interested to, understand better this particular program. Thank you so much, and apologies for having a very long slide.
Thank you. A round of applause for Bwana Albert Okal. So thank you so much. I know we have comments, we have questions, we have issues, but I want to request that we hold that so that at the end of this session we'll be able to address or to have a plenary so that we can be able to have a discussion on the issues that are arising from these very informative presentations. So I want to bring in the second presenter on this, and he's also joining us from one of the member states of the East African Community, that is the Republic of Uganda. And I want to welcome Ms. Jean Yamugisha. Ms. Jean, I hope you're getting us.
Yes, I can get you very well. I hope you're getting me.
Thank you so much. Welcome. We'll request that, let me kindly request William Okal to stop sharing his presentation so that we can also allow in our next presenter to join in and also share her presentation. Meanwhile, I hope Jeffrey Ochola is still on so that at the end of this presentation we'll all be able to have a plenary session to address any comments, any issue or questions as it pertains to this presentation. So, Madam Jean, kindly, maybe you will introduce yourself, tell us where you're getting from, what you do, and your experience on this topic of quality apprenticeship. Can we give a round of applause to Madam Jean?
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
My name is Jean Biamlisha, and I am the CEO of the Uganda Hotel Owners Association. I want to thank Albert so much for a very detailed presentation. I think everything that I wanted to talk about is encompassed in his presentation, so in the interest of time, just allow me to speak off camera. The Uganda Hotel Owners Association, we are piloting the apprenticeship program in Uganda. We never had an apprenticeship program, we didn't know what apprenticeship was, and then we kept having a very big skills challenge. You have all these children who go to the universities, you have the employers saying that there is no qualified and skilled manpower, And so, as the Hotel Owners Association, again with support from the ILO, we decided to take this bull by the horns and be able to address this system by completely changing the landscape of training, of skills building, of capacity building in the hotel industry. So, what we did, number one, was to get on board with the apprenticeship program. And for us to ensure sustainability, we made sure that it went through the Acts of Parliament, it was approved by Parliament, approved by the government of Uganda, it became a policy, and is now permanently housed under the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development. As the first industry to implement apprenticeship, really every other industry was looking at us. Unfortunately, when you are a pilot, you really don't have any wiggle room for any mistakes. You are the person everybody is looking at. You have no benchmarks to follow on. You're the person that is building the foundation. If you get the foundation wrong, it's not just an indictment to you, but rather to everybody else. So as a result, we had to make sure that we take our time and we implement it in the right way. I'm glad to note, and before I note what I wanted to note, we then tried to, another thing that we did very differently for us here in Uganda is that Uganda is home now to 1.7 million refugees. Everybody knows there is a lot of stigma attached to refugees. So there's been all these assistance and the humanitarian efforts to help the refugees, but they've been mainly in the informal sector. You know, they are taught how to braid hair, they are taught how to do tailoring, but none of them have actually been structured to see how the refugees can go into the formal sector. Again, we were the first ones to pilot this program of seeing how we can get refugees to be able to work in the formal industry like the hotel industry. This was quite difficult because you have to balance it with the political side. You have very many young Ugandans who don't have jobs, and yet you have a program that is saying we want to empower the refugees. So you have to balance that with the political side by actually explaining that unlike other countries around the world, refugees in Uganda stay in camps. Sorry, stay in settlements and not in camps, meaning that they are part of our ecosystem, they are part of trade, they go to our schools, they work with us. And so by not taking care of that demographic of the population, you are creating the same problem that we have, that is youth unemployment, which comes with also its other added issues like security, etc. So against that background, we were able to get refugees to come on board. And the results have been nothing short of amazing. The refugees actually worked impressively hard, exceeded all expectations and all benchmarks that we have set for them. So much so that now in the hotels where they were training, many of the hotel owners actually said, we want to be able to have more refugees working with us. We had the issue with stigma, whereby people, we look at refugees as those people. But slowly integrating them into our everyday lives, we realize that we are one, and we realize just how much they add onto our businesses. In Uganda, for instance, we are an Anglophone country, we don't speak French. We had refugees from Congo. These young kids came and they were able to relate with the French guests. They were able to bring in more business. The colleagues from South Sudan were able to get in more South Sudanese who are very big spenders to come and stay in hotels where they can talk to people who speak their language. So this kind of value addition really also brought a lot to the hotels that by the end of the first cohort, 70% were actually retained in full employment. So we managed to create, out of 100 apprentices that we had, 70% were absorbed into the hotels where they worked. Last week we graduated 200 apprentices, and 75% of those are already absorbed. They already have running contracts and they are going to continue their employment. So we know that apprenticeship works, and that is now the model we are trying to push. We are so glad in Uganda to see other sectors taking keen interest. We are so glad that we set the pace. We are so glad that we opened the doors, and we are so glad that we created a benchmark now for the other sectors to come in and be able to implement their own apprenticeship program. And so with this kind of model, we had a presentation yesterday, and one of the statistics which we had was that in 2050, a third of the world's population is going to be, or a third of the world's youth population is going to be in Africa. That is a crisis. That is billions of young people in Africa, and if we do not start addressing the issue of youth employment now, that is a crisis waiting for us to happen. So we have a 25-year lead for us to be able to look at ways of empowering the young people who are going to be majorly in Africa, whether it's through entrepreneurship, whether it's through employment creation, and apprenticeship is one of the ways which has been tried and tested as one of the ways that can empower youth with skills. When I talk about 70% and 75% retention within the workforce, there are others who have had contracts and they chose not to take up these contracts because they wanted to go back home into the camps, into their countries of origin, to start small businesses. Last year in the first cohort, we had young people who left and went back to the camps and started catering companies. When we were doing the recruitment for the second phase, these were the same people who were catering for our teams and everybody, and we actually paid them full price. They came to me and they asked us for a recommendation letter so that they could start providing catering services to the NGOs who are within the camps, and that was amazing to behold, amazing to be a part of. That the kid that we interviewed just 12 months prior is now a qualified business owner. He's employing other refugees within the camps, and they are actually supplying a service, an honorable service, to the people who are supposed to be taking care of them in the camps. So the balance of power shift is what really gets me excited about opportunities like apprenticeship. And I really want to thank the ILO, because without them this would not have been possible. Not only did they do the funding, but they also did the capacity building. Like I said, when we started introducing this project, we really, even to the hotel owners, even to other partners, everybody kept saying, but we have interns, but we have trainees, and many times we even call them apprentices. So we really had to start from the basics of actually having to break down what an apprentice does, what an intern does, what a trainee does, what is the difference between each, and why we are looking at apprenticeship in the hotel industry. So we have been able to get very good feedback, and this is something I want to encourage everybody here with us today to look at how you can be able to have quality apprenticeship. Like the former speaker Albert said, quality apprenticeship is not just getting free manpower. No, that is the difference between an intern and a trainee. An apprentice has a contract, an apprentice has rights. We always had to maintain the decent work agenda in each and everything that we did. They had contracts, they would go on leave, they were treated exactly like any other member of staff, including the negatives. If they did something wrong, they were equally reprimanded the same way you would reprimand a member of staff. So they do not just come as guests who are there for 2-3 months and leave. They become part of the hotel's staff and management. It's also very interesting to see that an apprentice actually goes faster in their career than any other trained person. We saw in some of the hotels, a year or 2 years later, young people who had gone in as refugee apprentices get into the roles of supervisors and managers, the front office managers. That was extremely exciting and interesting to behold. On our side, we also have to make sure that we do not flood the markets. So tourism and hospitality is always very dynamic, it's always changing, trades are changing, and the climate of the tourism industry is changing. And so we have to make sure that we keep engaging with the employers to make sure that we are actually training relevant skills, the ones which are actually needed within the industry. For that, we have had the support of the Hotel Association, we've had the support of our Ministry of Labour, who have been invaluable in supporting and making sure that we implement this according to the law. We definitely had support from the ILO, and we are very much looking forward now to a third cohort, but also to supporting other industries because now with the expertise we have, we want to see this cascade into the other industries, other sectors, so that they can also be able to implement apprenticeship. Thank you so much.
Thank you, John, and thank you so much for giving us the perspective of the flagless industry in Uganda. So thank you so much, and I request also that you be on call, so that at the end of this, we'll have all of you maybe in a plenary session address the reactions, the comments from the participants who are here, and also those who are joining us online. So again, allow me to bring in our last presenter, the last presenter for this session. And our last presenter for this session is Mr. Gideon Murenga, who is a senior Tibet and labor market specialist from the GIZ Tibet project here in Kenya. So a round of applause for Gideon as he comes. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. As we set his presentation, let me also request those who are online, we will be able to have a plenary session after this, so that we can be able to share ideas in a session where we'll have comments, reactions, questions, and at that I would request that we take note from the presentations, from the first presentation from Dr. Wanyeki, Geoffrey Ochola from ILO. We've had from the guest presenters, Albert Kiamokal, who joined us from Pretoria, and we've had Jim joining us from Uganda. So we are coming to the presentation from Murenga, a senior Tibet and labor market specialist from the GIZ project here in Kenya. So I hope this is bringing a lot of insights from from the experts, from the labor ILO perspective. We've also had the experience from the industry, from the presentation by Madam Jean from our neighboring country, and we hope to get now the perspective from the GIZ project, the Tibet project here in Kenya. I hope we are getting a lot of insights. So again, a round of applause for Mr. Gideon as he comes. Yes, thank you so much. Can we go ahead again? Okay, yeah, we are. Yeah, technology. So those who are joining us online, kindly bear with us as we set up the presentation. Can you find out whether those who are online yeah, by show of hands, those who are online, can you be able to let us know whether you're seeing the presentation? Maybe you could share the presentation.
We can see the presentation.
Okay, thank you. That's good feedback. For the online group, I think we are sorting out that technology issues so that we're able to share the presentation.
All right, I think we will proceed. So we will share the presentation. Actually, it will be very brief, and then we'll be able to share it to the online group. Unfortunately, I think the coordination for sharing came a little bit late, but I'm sure you'll be able to follow through. So there are just 2 or 3 slides, so the online participants will not be able to miss much, but we'll share the slide. So I will run through what we do as a project. Yeah, so we give reference to the project Youth Employment and Tibet, which is a bilateral project that aims at increasing the employability of young Kenyans through implementation of an employment-oriented dual Tibet program in close collaboration with private sector industries. So this is a project that is jointly funded by BMZ, which is the Federal Ministry of Economic Cooperation and Development in Germany, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Finland, and is implemented through the State Department of Tibet under the Ministry of Education. So we are basically looking at 5 objectives in the implementation of the project. One is on the regulatory framework, and it relates very well to the presentation that we just had in the morning from Mr. Okalo on the need to have a regulatory framework. So the first objective is looking at that, coming up with a policy around Tibet, a dual Tibet implementation, coming up with a policy around continuous professional development, and also around gender. Our second objective is focusing on institutionalization of the processes. A lot of times projects come into place, after the project is over, there is no continuity. The project comes to an end. So one of the things that we're also focusing on is sustainability. How do we make sure that all the things that are introduced in the project are institutionalized within the existing processes and structures within the entire system? And for that reason, I'm sure now you've been hearing about an industry liaison office that has been established in the ministry. That is one of the units that was championed by this project, because there was always industry liaison activities at the institution, but there was never an office at the ministry level to coordinate this. So that is an office that the project established, furnished it, and ensured that it can be able to operationalize even beyond the project phase. Our third objective is now the rollout of dual Tibet, which now focuses on the actual implementation of the model on the ground. And the fourth one is all around capacity development, because we need all institutions to be capacity developed to ensure that there is continuity of implementation of the program. And the fifth objective is around digitization, how we can be able to improve efficiency and effectiveness of Tibet through digitization interventions. So how the model runs, in brief, so a curriculum is developed. This curriculum is split into two training plans. So we have an industry-based training plan and a school-based training plan. So the school-based training plan will be implemented in the school system. The industry-based training plan will be implemented in the industry. And the units of competencies are split in such a way that they are complementary to each other. So the competencies that appear more practical are implemented in the industry side. Now there's a rotation model when it comes to implementation. There are usually about 3 or 4 different models of rotation. For the case that we are working with Kenya is the block release. So students are shifted blocks, and the blocks are equivalent to terms. So the first term you start in school, the second term you go to the industry, then you come back to school, then you go to the industry. So you do the rotation until the program is over. So the duration of the change is determined by which level of training we are talking about. So if it is level 6, the rotation could be 4 blocks in the industry and 4 blocks in the school. If it is level 5, it keeps on reducing. If it is level 4, I think the rotation is just twice, and the program is over. There are training MOU, I think there was a mention about frameworks, a training MOU signed between the students, the industry, and the school, just to stipulate the responsibilities of the different players. Therefore, that gives you industry-ready graduates. So, comparing conventional Tibet and dual Tibet, the exposure to practical training for the ones who are going through dual Tibet is much more than 90%. Because there's a practical training that they get while in school, and they're spending a minimum of 50% training in the industry. So we are saying it's 50, a minimum of 50% training in the industry. It means that training in the industry can go to as high as 80%. So 50 minimum training in the industry. Whereas the other part, the exposure is very less, and therefore perhaps less than 25% exposure to practical training. Some of the benefits that we have seen running through the project, the skills gap mitigation, this has come in very handy. Now we're seeing students coming out with skills that are actually required by the employers. In fact, we have a situation where some of the graduates have already been employed. Of course, we know our system had challenges on issuing certifications in the last 1 or 2 years. But some of them have already been employed because the employers found them fit. They had the skills that they need, even before they got their certificates. Enhanced employability, which of course aligns to what I've talked about. They are sought for graduates because they have what it takes to be able to support productivity in the industries and in the companies. Aspects of boosting innovation, we have visited some of them. For example, there are students in Hako industry, and we were talking with their industrial managers, and they are coming up, they are trying to work with those students to come up with different innovations. For example, they were talking about something to do with reducing their energy consumption, and there's a project they are working with these students in that particular industry. So there's a lot of innovation that are also building up. Why? Because of the exposure that these students get to when they're training in the industry, and of course economic growth. Some of the key sectors for training, manufacturing has been the leading, agriculture, of course, tourism as well. One of the areas that we're also trying to explore is the technology side, of course, because of all the transition around AI transition and issues around cybersecurity. So those are new areas that we'll be moving into, but at the moment, the program has a lot of courses around agriculture, manufacturing, and tourism, especially the hospitality area. Challenges, of course, will always be there. Issues around funding, coordination is a big challenge coming in. There's a lot of interest from different agencies that wants to coordinate. Sometimes brings confusion in terms of regulation, who is supposed to do what. So that also has brought a little bit of challenge on implementation, and of course issues around infrastructure. Policy is key. We are working on coming up with a dual team. The policy structure is already being developed at the CS office, going through various stages. We hope that it can be approved very soon. Partnership and collaboration is very key. It's actually a success factor, very strategic to be able to enable dual team to be able to work. One of the biggest questions that always comes from industries is incentives and funding, which has the potential to attract more investment in training with the industry, and therefore policies that can be able to support incentives to industries, considering that the majority of our industries are informal, almost 80%. But interesting, they are very willing and always ready to support when it comes to the implementation of the model. So there are about 6 steps that we have taken in implementing this model, and every step has the industry involved. Step 1, the industries provide the needs and skills requirements, and this has always been a big gap. Unfortunately, we have been running a model where courses are just duplicated. An institution starts up and they copy-paste a whole training program from another institution. This has not done any good for us. We don't sit down with the industry to find out what are the key economic generators. And sometimes I look at, last week we had an opportunity to be in Philippines, which we are almost comparable in terms of economy. And one of the things I noticed was that they use those key economic generators as the factors that drive the kind of courses that run in the institutions. So you will not find the institutions running the same courses if they are located in different regions. What are the needs within where you're located as an institution? And that's where you build your courses from. So it's not about duplication, but it's about training for relevance, not training for esteem, which unfortunately sometimes we do that a lot of times. Establishing partnerships with companies and TVET institutions, very, very strategic, has to be there, and I think that's one of the things that the project has been able to do, to capacity develop institutions so that they are proactively seeking strategic collaborations with industries and ensuring that they are able to have collaborations and engagements that will benefit the young people go through their programs. curriculum and training program. The industries also come in on giving input to the curriculum, whether it is review of building new curriculums, recruitment and selection. So the industries also take part in recruitment and selection of the students who have gone through the dual TVET program that we have implemented. Why? Because a lot of times there's lack of career guidance in this country, that people take courses for various reasons. Perhaps somebody says we have no plumbers in this country and everybody goes into plumbing course. After 3-4 years, there are 5,000 plumbers in the market. So where do they go? So lack of planning. We don't use labor market information system to really advise what kind of courses are we implementing. So it's about hearsay. We use hearsay to drive people into taking courses. So someone just wants to take a marketable course. Does it align even to your passion? Along the way, you discover that it's not even a field that you're passionate about. You redirect your life later. Yet you wasted a lot of time, you wasted a lot of resources. So the industries help us with conducting things like aptitude tests. They're able to find out, is this really a field that is passionate for this young person? And they can be able to tell that here, this is your field, or you're just here because your parents said so, or somebody advised you, or the richest guy in your village did this course and is making a lot of money, so you also want to make a lot of money by taking that course. So those issues of misguidance and the industries help a lot in recruiting and selecting these students. And to confirm that this has worked, all the students who are screened through this program, Pioneer, we had 47, there was never a single dropout. They completed all their 3-year program. There was never a single dropout. That means they were selected for the right courses. Then step 5, the on-the-job and classroom instruction. And of course, the last step is assessment and certification. So the industry is really at the center of the program. The photo you can see on the right corner, that is New KCC. They were interviewing one of the students to join their program in refrigeration and air conditioning. And you can see it looks like a very structured interview. But that's just a student who was completed Form 4, being screened to enter into a TVET program. And that's why sometimes I don't call it private sector, I call it industry driven, because New KCC is not private, it's actually an industry. So as I go towards the end of my presentation, this is where we moved as a project. We had the first phase pilot between 2019 and 2022, where we had 7 public TVET institutions. 7 curriculums were developed. We had about 350 trainees joining the program. About 65 plus the industries joined the program. And the narrative was different, because the story you always hear was that the industry are not willing. But when you approach the industry, the narrative was always very different. In fact, there's someone here from the industry I like, from HVAC industry. He's always very passionate. When that gentleman speaks about their interest in training young people, you'll be surprised. So sometimes we just sit in the boardroom and make our own analysis. But it's what they want. If it works out, they're able to support, these programs. After 2022, we realized the interest was there. We said, why don't we scale up the model? So in collaboration with government, we say, we are going to move up to 65 up to 2026. So our target was 60 schools, 6,000 trainees, 800 partnering industry, 1,800 TVET personnel trained, and 15 curriculums revised, 3 of them in the green sector. That was our target for 2026. As we speak now, we were supposed to have reached 6,000 by 2026. We are now 6,500 by half of the program period. 6,500 already. The industries we want to do 800 by 2026. We are already 2,300 industries are on board across the country supporting the program. And more of them keep on writing emails and calling. How can we be part of this program? So even before the incentives and all those other things we talk about have not been placed, there is already a lot of interest from the industry to support the training and skilling of these young people. So if we can have strategic collaborations and see what can work for our industries. Policies are good sometimes. One thing we noticed with the Philippine model last week, they have a dual training system act of 1994. So their policies were approved in 1994. But they did the policy before they went to implementation. They introduced a component where industries are supposed to pay 75% to the apprentice of the minimum wage. 75% of the minimum wage to the apprentice. The 25% they pay to the school. that is training the students, they started on a wrong footing. When you look at their numbers now, they are now looking at now reviewing that, because what is the structure of their industries? For example, a lot of them also small and medium enterprise industries, and some of them say we cannot be able to afford and support this model if you require us to pay 75%. So issues of contextualization are very key to make any model work. Dual treatment is a German model. It has been there for more than 200 years. The structure of their industries is different. So one of the things that for us to make the model work, we have to contextualize it. How does our space look like? How do our industries look like? So once we contextualize, then it is easy for us to be able to implement and move with this model. Yeah, so I think that is the part I wanted to present in terms of what we are doing. The uptake is very positive. A lot of companies are using various reasons to participate in the model. There are those who are using our CSR programs. They want to give back to the community. We have even industries that are paying school fees for the students. We have tea factories that have combined 11 of them. They are paying school fees for the students who have joined the program. So sometimes we sit on one side and say, oh, industry what, but when you sit with them, they will tell you a different conversation. If there's a clear benefit for them, they are ready to support. The incentive model always big, but some of them have elements within themselves that help them to join the program. Some industries that we have are looking at their recruitment pipeline. They know in the next 2 years, we need to hire 30 or 40 technicians. They take them through a 2-year program. By the time they are going to complete, they have trained the students in their space. These students understand how to handle clients. They understand their culture. So for them, immediately the program is over, it's plug and play. They just get them on board, give them contracts in the morning, and they start working the following day. So there's a lot of benefit that are associated with training the program, and we are glad that as we stand, there's a positive reception from the industries, and therefore this collaboration will also be able to support our young people as we transition into running quality apprenticeships. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, Gideon, for that presentation on the dual training model in Kenya. We're also happy that you've been able to give us insight or lessons learned from Philippines and others. So another round of applause for Gideon. Yes. So I think we've been able to go through the perspective of the ILO perspective with regards to quality apprenticeship. We've also been able to get insights from the industry. From the presentation from Uganda, and also the presentation on the dual system in our country, and I'm sure we've had a lot of experience. So I will request again that I know we have online participants who have maybe comments or reactions to the presentations or questions, and I want us to get to that session where our stakeholders, we give our comments, our views, our reactions, and I want to invite, I know Dr. Wandeki and Geoffrey were to moderate this session. So I will still request that they be on standby so that they can be able to moderate and take us through this session of getting now the comments, reactions from the presentations, the three presentations that we had, and I know from our sectors, from the industry, the training sector, the social partners, the development partners, we have our views, ideas, reactions this comment. So allow me to invite Dr. Wandeki to take us through that session where to be able to have engagements on this topic of quality apprenticeship. Karibu, Dr.
Thank you very much, Arapto. Let us appreciate Arapto with a round of applause. Thank you very much for managing the session very well. Now we are at plenary, and as I mentioned, the main intention why we are here is to have a conversation. One was to listen to the experts, then let us have a conversation. Gideon was saying that when we sit on the same table with the industry, we tend to agree, rather than when we make decisions in the boardrooms. That's why we are here. So this is an interactive session where we will be asking clarifications or questions from our facilitators who have been here, and maybe even telling us some of the strategies that you have already put in your respective enterprises to do quality apprenticeship, or what maybe you might do after listening to this so that you can have quality apprenticeship. Like the way Gideon presented, we also have some challenges that we have faced along the way while implementing. Maybe you might be having a solution to some of the challenges, and this is the time that you can present. I'll start with my question to Gideon. So we'll do about 5 questions first. You state who you will wish to address your question, because we had 3 presenters. Then from there, they will respond, then we take maybe a second and a third round depending on the number of questions. My question to Gideon is, from your experience now, since I know I was with you in Italy on training on this quality apprenticeship, so you know both quality apprenticeship and dual. Do you think there's a significant difference between the two? And should we implement them as parallel programs, or we can have a mechanism of implementing them, enhancing one, and maybe finding a way of agreeing on the name, so that maybe the GNZ project does not lose its intention, and also ILO are satisfied that recommendation 208 is implemented. That's my question. I open up the floor. Arapto, can your name, question, and who you are directing to?
Okay, thank you. My name again is Emmanuel Maithia from Kibich, Principal Nairobi campus. Mine is Eugene from Uganda. And I want first we wish to appreciate Gina and the government of Uganda for the step they have taken to reward this program, which eventually has led to having refugees having a pathway to get into the formal working sector. And my question is, for someone to enter into this quality apprenticeship program, they need to have at least some minimum qualifications. So I was just wondering, for the refugees, how are they able to establish? Because my understanding is these are people coming maybe from other countries, whether these people have the minimum qualifications, and I think these qualifications are actually been defined. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That is question to Dean on how to establish the minimum qualification for the refugees. Take the line of ladies, the 3, that will make 4 questions, we'll be remaining with 1. Then we have Stella. It seems today is the girl day.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I would like to thank Mr. Marenga for the presentation that you have made about dual Tibet program. So one of the things I've realized through this session is that the students, as they come out from school and transition into the work market, they're as green as they come. So the project really seems like it's doing a great job to integrate them well into the market. So my question is, you talked about aptitude tests, which help employers and industry players to weed out different skills and different people whom they want into their program or don't want into their program and organizations. Is it better if these aptitude tests were performed right before college or university, so that it can even help the students as they go to choose the courses that they are doing? So this was in line with what you mentioned about the lack of planning in our education system, especially in the career space. I think it will be prudent, would it not be prudent, if the career planning starts even in high school? So is there a way to integrate this from that young level as they grow, so that they are not being advised on careers when you are in fourth year or in your third year of university or college? So that's my question.
Thank you for the question, though I did not get your name.
I am so sorry. My name is Brenda Willenden from the State Department of Industry.
My question was to Gideon on, I think it was not so clear, who takes, during the stay at the dorm events, the students who take care of their accommodation, do they get paid? I think I need to understand more on that. My name is Model from KEPSA. And just to reiterate, for us in KEPSA, we are supporting dual training. KEPSA is the umbrella body for all private sector in the Republic of Kenya. And therefore our stand right now is that we are supporting dual training. However, mine are many comments, and they are directed to specifically government sitting here today. We are the Ministry of Education here. And today, as we speak, if you go to KNQA, look for the Kenyan National Qualification Framework, inaishia NITA. Without Kasanga here, I am a CBC ambassador. I have a letter from the Ministry of Education. I believe in CBC. I believe in competency-based training. But we do not talk to ourselves in the ministry. Why right now don't all secondary schools know about dual training and what is the progression? I've just been asked a question here. This is my KEPSA, this is KEPSA table. I said, well, then, can you take them to your university? And I've just showed our Kenyan Qualification Framework. It does not discuss progression. When you do dual training, when you do any CBET qualification. So right now, as far as we are concerned, in the Ministry of Education, we are doing NEC courses, which you saw there, only have attachment. Because that is the only way a student can say, I will walk seamlessly into university. And you cannot ignore the fact that there are university ambitions in our youth. You cannot ignore that. Not when the majority of students do not qualify for university. And we have built ourselves a culture of acknowledging that as part of career progression as well. And as ministry people, as government people, you know you cannot be employed in government without that paperwork. Only parastatals like KCC can employ on these other qualifications. Today, TSC, in fact, you cannot walk in a CBET. There is no way. You cannot walk in with an apprenticeship. We can only do attachment and what we call in TSC, internship. Internship in the private sector is you have left training and you need 6 months, 8 months, and we mold you, we may or may not retain you. In TSC, what you have to prove you have finished long time. Not yesterday. You have to prove that you know the job. So let us not cheat ourselves here when we in the government are not even aligned to what we are saying here. Can the Tibet talk to KNQF? Let us get these things qualified so that we, I also do a lot of basic education, we can talk about dual training. We can talk about CBET. As long as we are not having that discussion like she mentioned, you mentioned it, at the lower levels. What are we doing to ourselves? What is it? How do we even reach the youth? How do we even reach the youth? Am I right or am I right? Thank you. So We are supporting the language we want is the language of dual training. On apprenticeships, we have this is information. On apprenticeships, we have a lot of independent apprenticeships, and that is why for us in the private sector, recognition of prior learning is working. It is not working under the Ministry of Education, it is working under the Ministry of Labor with NITA. And to be perfectly honest, all these things should ideally, this whole thing should be sitting under the Ministry of Labor, because from an employer perspective, that is where we find benefits. For me, as an educator, I find it annoying that I pay NITA for even running a nursery school. All my employees, I have to pay NITA, I get nothing back from NITA. But I pay. So I wish my regulator, who is my co-employer, TSC, would find a method of us working better with NITA. But I suppose as employers, we don't interact with NITA the way we, the private employers, do. So again, so you can see the confusion within the Ministry of Education about how then we are able to talk to young people adequately. But that is, it is happening. The cognition of prior learning is happening, but under the Ministry of Labor.
Thank you. It was more of, you said, statements than questions. Okay. And it's very important, that's why we are saying we are here as government to listen to this conversation. So that means as government we are open to listen to this conversation, because we can't know where it's not working if we are not listening. That's why we are here to listen. And last, we say we take 5. If there's, yes, we can take 1 at the back there. Or we will take from Dr. Stella, then we take her.
Okay, thank you so much. The first question was asked by Dr. Wanyeki. I really wanted to understand the difference between apprenticeship and dual training. But there is something that also I picked. With dual certification, you're working with the institutions. They have the block. I remember you mentioning about the block. They are one time in the industry, one time in class. So how is it working? Do you have the curriculum for one time in class and one time in the industry? What about the apprenticeship? Is there a curriculum for the same? And as I wait to get the difference between the two, this apprenticeship, I didn't get anywhere where they're given maybe certification. So how does it work? Again, when I look at the whole matter of dual training, this involves the industry. So how many industries do we have in Kenya? Where are they situated? Will all the institutions be able to access the industry if all the trainees have to go through the dual training? And have the institutions been given, how do I put it, like a way of finding out the collaboration? Because there before, the industries have been working on their own, waiting for the trainees to graduate and join them. Now you see this one, they have to work hand in hand. So do they have the capacity to go and face the industry, ask for collaboration so that they can be able to train hand in hand, and are the industry ready? Because I've heard there is one which has been mentioned that they are ready, but how many industries are ready to train? Because I know they are ready for people who are ready to work. So maybe if you can get some insights so that we can be able to see the best way out. So I think, yeah, those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. We take one last one for the first round of questions.
Thank you very much. Although part of my question has been asked by predecessor, but I can maybe echo. My name is Jacqueline from Tibet Authority. I'm so grateful to all presenters. They have really given us a lot of insight. So my question goes to Jean, all the way from Uganda. I listened to her, how she narrated on how they are implementing apprenticeship in their country. However, I also did get it clear that as they recruit this, although she was talking more of the refugees, maybe I would like to understand, are they considering entry requirements of these students they are enrolling in this program? And even after they go through this training, are they issued certificates? If yes, which ones are they? It needs to come out clearly, because we also need to have a common understanding that even apprenticeship at the end of the day leads to a qualification. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We can now have the respondents respond to the raised question. We'll start from the online. That is, Madam Jean, you have 2 questions, almost similar. One from Jacqueline asking about entry qualification. And the first one was, how do you determine the minimum requirement, especially for the refugees who might not possess formal training? And the second question, the third now is, which type of certificate do you issue after training? Which type of certificate do you issue after training? And do you collaborate with a training institution, or the apprentice is fully trained at the premise or industry? Thank you. You may respond.
Thank you so much for the questions, and I'm glad that I have all the answers satisfactorily to all the questions that you've asked. The first one, what was the minimum qualification for refugees? Like I said, this has to be a partnership. So it is the Hotel Association representing the employers, you have the Ministry of Labor representing the legal aspect, you have the following the Employment Act, the Labor Act, but we also had the Ministry of Education. And we did have to have a budget for equating their certifications that they had. Every person who had, so the first cohort we had minimum of home form. Right, currently we had a minimum of form for that is Singapore. And we had to make it so high, despite the fact that we were doing apprenticeship, because now ours is a formal industry. Somebody needs to be able to know how to read, somebody needs to be able to know how to write, somebody needs to be able to know how to express themselves, and somebody needs to be mature enough. So the qualifications, the cut-off points we had, this person has to be an adult, 18 to 30 years of age. Because according to the labor laws, you cannot employ somebody who is not an adult, so we have to follow the law. So you have to, we got apprentices who are adults, we got apprentices whose minimum education level was Form 4. This is a very labor-intense program, because with refugees, many people come without certifications because of the way in which they left their homes. You also have people who are already degree holders. Maybe somebody was a doctor, they are trying to get any opportunity as they come to, they are changing completely the industry. So it's not even just amongst the papers. We also look at somebody's ability to be trained, their attitude. That somebody comes on board when they are, you really see you cannot do anything with this candidate even though they have all the qualifications. So we had to balance the recruitment, but I also have to mention that this was a hybrid. So it's not like it was mainly only refugees. We also had Uganda, people from the surrounding communities who are also able to apply. And I think you have to balance the moral aspect of the project with the political aspect of the project. Politicians, leaders were complaining about why are you empowering refugees, why young Ugandans people have jobs. So it really had to be in some way, shape or form a bit of a hybrid. Secondly, we worked with the Directorate of Industrial Training. We had to develop a whole new curriculum for apprenticeship. Like I said, we didn't have apprenticeship before, we didn't have the curriculum, so we had to start from the foundation and build up. We had to develop a curriculum for apprenticeship in the hotel industry. And this was done in partnership with the employers and academia. It was supervised by the Directorate of Industrial Training. Stages and the processes of approval, so that it is part of the Ministry of Education guidelines in terms of apprenticeship in the hotel industry. What we did, because we partnered with the training school, the government training school, the Uganda Hotel and Tourism Training Institute. So these apprentices come to us for 1 full year, 12 months, out of which they spend the first month at the training institute, where they are learning the theory part of the hotel and a little bit of practical, but majority theory. Is explaining to them what are the terms, what that we use in the industry, what is the difference between a cook and a chef, etc. And by the time they come to the industry, at least they have a bit of theory, and then that's where we now start piloting. We started off in 4 departments. That was front office, housekeeping, kitchen, and waiters and waitresses, where we are able to take these kids through. But also I must reiterate that we had to take these kids through each and every department before they would specialize. So they all had to have some time as waiters, they all had to have some time as housekeepers. Then when they go back to the training institute for about 2 weeks, they are then able to specialize, and now when they come back to us, we train them in the departments where they decided to specialize. So that by the time we graduate, they are certified by the Directorate of Industry Training. Someone graduates as a certified cook, someone graduates as a certified waiter on level 1 etc. The certification they get is level 1 certification, and from there they can use that as an official government of Uganda certification and internationally recognized, and they can be able to use that to continue growing their careers. So the entry requirements, we make sure minimum senior 4, they can speak English, because we are an Anglophone country, they can articulate themselves, and these are people who are trainable. Then somebody asked about who takes the students' cost of the apprentices, unlike other interns, they are actually paid a stipend every month, which is like a salary. And I think for us it was quite high, it was the equivalent of about $100. And from this, they are supposed to pay for their accommodation, they are supposed to pay for their own transportation to school, etc. But like I also mentioned, when they come to work in a hotel, they sign the contract with the hotel, and they are treated like any other staff member in a hotel. So whatever benefits accrue to a staff member in a hotel, they also have access to that privilege. So for instance, meals at the workplace, they get to have annual leave, they get to participate if the hotel has in-house training programs, they get to be able to access all of that. So that's what we're doing right now. Yes, they is the minimum qualification. Yes, they are certified. They all get level 1 certification from the DIT, and they do have opportunities to be able to upscale and grow in their career. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I ascertain that you had all the answers and very satisfactory. Now we listen to Gideon. Gideon had several questions. One was from Brenda, and Brenda was asking, at what time is it appropriate to do career guidance, which you call aptitude? Then we had Stella with quite a number of questions. One was curriculum, do you have the curriculum for the industry and for the institution? And there was certification. She was inquiring whether there is dual certification now that training is done at the industry. That's also the industry award some certificate. And the other was access to industry, where are they, and are the institution able to get to the industry? So, Karibu Kwanagiyo, you might respond in addition to what they asked.
Thank you, Dr. Mickey. Yeah, so I will run through the questions, and I will also, because I think since we started the model initially, we used to be the only ones speaking about it, but we have done a lot of capacity development now, and we have also partners that we work with. So at some point, I'll also invite one of them to respond to one of the questions. But also as I respond to the question, I have my colleague Emmanuel Choki, that raised up your hand, is my colleague from GIZ, so maybe there could be some follow-up questions you might want, and also you can equally respond to some of those questions. Yeah, so on the first question on whether there's a difference between quality apprenticeship and dual TVET, Apprenticeship, of course, we know it originated from the old model of the apprentice being trained by a master craftsperson. That is where it originated from. So you're being trained by someone who is experienced in the industry. So as long as there's an integration of that in the training, that is where the apprenticeship model is born from. And in dual TVET, the students are going to the industry to be trained by mentors and qualified persons. And that's why some other quarters, they will call it dual apprenticeship. On the question of aptitude test to be conducted before college, that's a very good recommendation from Brenda. I wish we can be able to integrate that. One of the things I noticed last week in Philippines, I visited a senior high school student. A senior high school. Students 16 years of age can be able to dismantle and assemble an engine on their own. 16 years of age. They have been exposed to the TVET stream much earlier while they're still in school. We also visited a company called Polaris, which is the one that is involved with these things of thermos, the thermos we use. They only employ students from that institution who have completed senior high school and they have a national skill certificate too, according to their qualification framework. These students do not even progress to a higher diploma or a degree. No. I found a guy there who has been there for 14 years. The only qualification he got was the senior high school qualification. And he has worked there for 14 years. Because he's competent in his skill area. That is what the industry wants. They are confident, they are happy, the guy is productive, these guys are doing exports all over the world. Yeah. So I fully agree with you on that, based on also what I've seen in other countries. Unfortunately, we have not integrated it in our system yet. We nurture these guys when it's too late in their career. I wish we can start that much earlier. Of course, there's a lot of questions, issues that we need to address, even on our assessment model. You have seen there's a lot of challenges with our assessment already, with CVET. One of the things we discovered last week in Philippines, they only assess core units, no basic, no common, because those are support units. So the communication skill for the guy doing food and beverage and the communication skill for an automotive expert is different. So you can't start asking a team of students stage 4 forms of communication. For what purpose? But you need to integrate the assessment of the communication to the core area that student is learning. So those are some of the things that we have gaps in that we need to address. So I really support that, and I hope as we take these different streams in the new model, in the new system, that can be picked into. Do students get paid and no place for accommodation? Yes, so some industries pay. Some industries don't pay. What we say that we don't subject this as a condition to the industries because their conditions are different. We have very small salons that are providing dual apprenticeship support to some institutions outside Nairobi, where they're only picking one student doing hairdressing. When you look at the nature of that industry and you tell them to pay, I mean, it's practically, actually, they are looking at it the other way. They actually want to be paid to purchase consumables to support that apprentice in training. So the issue is that depending on the circumstances of the industry, they can be able to support. Some provide lunch, some provide a fare, a transport reimbursement, but a lot of the cost of accommodation, that means the students caters for them. That means maybe the parent is supporting to pay for the accommodation. I think, Modeo, you have already mentioned about what I've alluded to, why secondary school has not even. I've given the example of Philippines, senior high school, very qualified students. I mean, the guys are skilled already. They transition to employment with national skill certificate too, immediately after senior high school. So they don't even need to proceed to higher training. But I agree with your point on qualification framework that we have a gap, we need to operationalize it. The kind of students we train in TVET, they want to take perhaps 3 directions. They are the ones who want to just go to employment. Once he completes his training, he wants to get a job. That is one. There are others who want to start their own businesses. How are we preparing for them for the entrepreneurship world? And there are others that want to progress. Have we laid the foundation for these students who go through TVET to progress. To be honest, I don't think we have had training qualification in Kenya now that offers a platform for the CVET graduates. It is not there. There are those that have the names close to mean that's what they do. But in real sense, we do not have an institution that provides higher qualification for these guys. So I agree with you on the qualification framework. The progression is not clear because I've looked at various models. Yesterday I joined a forum where there was an exchange between the Department for Workforce Development for the American people and Germany. They were exchanging how do they do their apprenticeship frameworks, and I was trying to learn also from their model. There's a lot of flexibility within their systems, depending on where you are. There's multiple entries and multiple exits. You can come in, do a course, leave. Join another point, leave. Even for you where you are. Unfortunately, sometimes we think career guidance is only for the young people, but also for us. Because the world of work is changing. Some of the courses we went for in school are becoming irrelevant because of various changes in the world of work. You also want to continue being relevant. So the system should also allow you, maybe at some point you discover your passion is in electronics engineering. Your passion is in hairdressing. You can come in, take a course, a short-term course, even at your age level, and it makes you relevant. Because one thing about skills is that skills don't die. Only people die. You don't retire in skills. So there's no 60 years for you in skills. You can practice your skills until the end of your life. So it also advises everybody who is in the system to be able to know how can you be able to enter and exit within the system. That's why issues around credits accumulation are very key. Credit transfers, yesterday, again another forum, they were talking about 50%, I think it was India, National Skill Development Committee. They were talking about 50% of their credits can be accumulated in the TVET system. 50%. I don't think we have that structure with us here. Now, last question from Stella on curriculum. So the curriculum is one. The only thing you generate different is the training plan. In high school, they call them lesson plans. It's just the training plan. So it's just one curriculum, but you look at the competencies. These competencies can be implemented more in a practical way. They go to the industry-based training plan. This one can be implemented more in a theoretical way. They go to the school-based training plan. So it gives you two training plans but complementary to each other. So when they go to the industry, they are doing more of the practicals, hands-on training. Today you are in the industry, a client brings a car, you're fixing the braking system, they learn the braking system for that day. So there's a way in the industry, it is structured, but you don't want to duplicate the school in the industry because it's not the core business of the industry to train. You also asked about certification, so yes. So in other countries, the chambers are the ones that issue the industry the certificate. In our case, we haven't structured that well, because we need a certificate that is recognized. So they will get the school-based certificate, but how do we address the industry? So what we have done in the model we have worked with, the industries are offering a kind of certificate. We can't say it's a qualification certificate, but to show that they have trained with the industry. So they move out already with a kind of a certificate of recommendation. But yes, that's a gap that needs to be addressed because in other countries, the chambers are the ones that issue the industry the certificate to show that the student has been trained through dual system. With all of them, we can then answer the question of where the industries.
Where are the industries? Yes, that's all I'm answering. The industries are all around you. We do have a problem defining who is industry in Kenya. Looking at the German model, we are talking CAM, we are talking, all the big industries that are predominantly in the urban areas. In the rural areas, we've got some institutions that are breaking ground. For instance, we have seen institutions working with shopkeepers on accountancy, on sales and marketing and things like that. So we do have industry wherever we are, where we just have to bring it together. And this is where, for instance, my friend there did what she has done, where she actually has placement within her college. Not just sending students with a letter of attachment, letter of placement. The institution actually actively works and engages
with the areas of training that it offers. I have answered the question, haven't I? SMEs, small and micro. We are a small and micro-led country. We have industry, but it is not as big as perhaps we are discussing here. And we do need to bring everybody under the umbrella. And institutions are breaking ground. They are changing how we look at and what we define as industry. So we are not necessarily talking about the KCCs. We are talking about that shopkeeper as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the questions and for the responses. We take a second one, and I have seen some hands. That is Okal and Bill, and also TSC was mentioned. I'll allow them also to say something, and Nita was also mentioned. And Ken Kiwe, though I know today they are doing stakeholders engagement of their regulation, of their regulation, so they might not be here, but maybe I'll try to say something about it. So we'll start with Okal. I know maybe you have some additional information you want to pass across. My question to you as you respond is, how can we actualize quality apprenticeship in Kenya? What are maybe 3 things we need to put in place? Welcome, Okal.
Oh, okay, thank you so much, moderator. So I wanted to, first of all, I will lead in the next 10 or 15 minutes to join another meeting. No, but I wanted to clarify, I will provide my perspective, I think, with regards to the ongoing, very interesting discussion, particularly on recognitions of qualifications obtained through quality apprenticeship, or if it is, dual training. In my personal opinion, in my personal opinion, I think there's no difference, to be honest. It's the arrangement, like my colleague from GSA was talking about block, 2 weeks at the institutions, 2 weeks at the school. In other countries might still, already the same block, but other people, like I know Uganda, they do a few months at the workplace, and then a few months or a few weeks at school. So it's really a matter of decision by national stakeholders on how to organize the blocks. But in principle, it's off and on the job training combined together. That's what's from the quality. And so long as now the addition that I want to say is that if you saw in the element, in the definition of quality apprenticeship, that training, in whatever arrangement it should lead to a recognized qualification. So if I was designing a training program that has on and off the job program, the first starting point in our initial consultation is how can this training be recognized by responsible authorities. That should be at the forefront of discussions. Early on when we're designing the program. It should come later, once we have the graduates, and then we realize, nobody is there to recognize the qualification. And the second thing to really address that early on is to peg the training program on already existing standards that have been accredited, you see? And my colleague from here then mentioned that, it's the same thing, it's just the arrangement. So even the training standards should be very different. It should be aligned with existing training standards that are already recognized. So what we're hearing is the modality of training delivery, where we have blocks at the workplace and blocks at the institution. If you do that, then you automatically address the issue of qualification recognition. The mistake that we do most of the time is we start by developing a new training program altogether, and in the process, perhaps some of the times we forget that these training programs need to be aligned with existing standards that have already been approved by the responsible authorities. If the standards are already approved and pegged to those standards, then the issue of non-recognition does not exist. It could be KMPA or any other authority that is providing providing that training. So I wanted just to highlight that, and this is how some of the countries have actually done it too. Because otherwise then you end up having trained people and then you start starting, okay, how are these people going to be recognized? What is the certificate and everything? This should be at the forefront of the discussion early on when we are designing this training program. Now, going back to your question, you can start anywhere, as we had indicated, and some participants have raised the question of, do we really have enough private sector base in Kenya to warrant a large scale, either dual apprenticeship or training program? And it also depends on the level of qualification that you pursue. The higher the level, to be honest, the more complex you need for a workplace. Because otherwise, these competencies that you want to acquire at workplace will not be acquired in a small enterprise. But of course, you can have different levels of qualifications, and therefore that will give you a more diverse scope of private sector to engage, if it is small and medium enterprises. There's another element that we also have to think about, is that our labor market in many African countries is not that transparent. Madam from Kemsa was talking about a small shop in a rural village. Which is very good. I mean, if we can have a mechanism, a support system to support young people get skills from a small shop, be it marketing the products or keeping their accounts. But we also know that many people, they are not very transparent in their businesses. In one of the countries where they were trying to pilot, to implement apprenticeship in a hotel, some hoteliers were saying we cannot allow an apprentice in reception because reception is the image of the hotel. We don't want trainees there, we want only experienced people. So is also other departments such as finance. Many companies are very, very resistant to allow trainees in finance, and even if they do, they will not really be giving them the freedom to know how the dynamics, the books and everything. So there's the element also of labor market transparency in the whole process. But then that brings us to the issue that we highlighted in my presentation, that we need to interrogate which sectors are really ready, at what qualification level, what kind of competencies we want to develop, that we know apprenticeship or dual training program is the most appropriate way to deliver. Because we don't have enough private sector base, as I said, we could still continue with regular training programs at TVET institutions, strengthening the quality there and supporting practical experiences through different methods. But there are some sectors which are ready that has a tradition, actually, of workplace training programs. These are the sectors that we start with as a low-hanging fruit. First of all, you have the enthusiasm, the support, the infrastructure is there, and therefore, that is one of the first steps that you have to consider in establishing enterprise. Then the second thing is that you have to start by agree on the framework, so that when you go into a program, you have a framework which has buy-in of all key stakeholders, and you define each and every element, that might affect or create barrier to successful implementation. We highlighted them in different sections of the presentation of apprenticeship. Once you have the buy-in, then I think it's now easy when you go into the program, then you have a clear picture of how this thing is going to turn out. You don't want shocks or in between. And then the other thing is also building capacity along the way for the key partners, because as was highlighted by the presentation from Uganda, while workplace-based learning is very prevalent, but mostly in the informal sector, when you formalize it, there are additional elements that are required, and therefore we find that many stakeholders are not aware. So we have to build the capacity of key stakeholders who participate in implementation to make sure that they understand, they are aware, they also support the initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I want to do something small before we release you. I want to request if there is one burning question, because Okal has indicated he will be leaving in 15 minutes. So maybe we just grant one question.
So thank you very much. My name is Boniface from Kenya Institute of Science and Building Technology. from the document that he was presenting, that is the number 28 of ILO 2003, he was talking about various components that will go along with ensuring quality apprenticeship. One of them, he talked about compensations. I believe it's very important. So my question is, are there any guidelines to ensure fair compensation for trainees in the apprenticeship put by the ILO? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Okal, I want to believe you have had the question. The question is that one of the characteristics of quality apprenticeship is compensation of the apprentice. Now the question is there a guideline on how the apprentice should be compensated? And I remember you talked of compensation either financially or materially in kind. So maybe you might address that and also give us a parting shot so that we can finish it.
No, thank you, and thank you for that excellent question. So to start with, the higher does not have specific guidelines on specific compensation modalities, but the ILO's guidelines say there should be a compensation, either financial or otherwise. Now, the modality of that compensation is subject to dialogue at the country level. And also subject to already existing labor-related policy frameworks. I will give you examples. In one country, and previously, before this recommendation was adopted, the standard statement was that, and in other countries still exists, the standard statement was that an apprentice is an employee and is entitled into a wage. You know, that was a very common statement in the previous frameworks on apprenticeship. Now, some countries contested this argument. First, they had a law. In every country, there's a law that clearly articulates who an employee is and the benefits that are accrued to being an employee. And the employee will receive a wage. And the wage has some statutory deductions based on existing laws. So in other countries, they say no, an apprentice cannot be an employee, because otherwise, if he's an employee, then it changes the whole game. You know, because we know who an employee is by law, and therefore, whatever they get as an employee, whether it's a wage, should be subjected to statutory taxes and everything. So in this country, after several iterations and discussions, they agreed to restrict an apprentice to be a trainee. And therefore, whatever allowance that the trainee was getting was called an allowance. And by just changing those two words, the allowance was not subjected to any tax, and the trainee remained to be a trainee. Of course, there are basic provisions that Gilles from Uganda also indicated, and even our recommendation say, yes, even if they're a trainee, but they're training at the workplace, we should look at occupational health and safety. We should look at, leave. These are adults, they might get sick, and if there are any other non-statutory services, that employees get at the workplace, then they should also be able to access this. And so Gilles was talking about lunches. If the company provides transport for workers, maybe from point A to B, if the company has a clinic where workers go to, these are some of the social protection measures that can be taken. If the company, apprentice has fallen pregnant, and there's regulations that govern workers who have, fallen pregnant in terms of leave and so on and so forth. These are some of the things that can be, provided. In some companies, we find, and a good example is hotels, especially hotels in the park, where workers have access to accommodation, and their accommodation is serviced, cleaning is done, food is prepared, and everything else. An apprentice can't have that. Then there are other aspects such as transportation to and from work, if there are uniforms, if there are safety gears. So these are other, I would say, non-monetary, non-financial, benefits that an apprentice
So the modality really differs from country to country, but the best way of going about that is to have a robust social dialogue at the beginning of designing the apprenticeship program. You remember I was talking about the framework that guides an apprenticeship program. That is where you actually dialogue between the government and key stakeholders to agree, okay, what kind of conversation will we move forward? That is also, relevant and acceptable to both employers but also the apprentices. What we say is unfair or is not right is to have an apprentice not compensated in anyhow. And there's economic reason into this. When you have an apprentice, let's say for 1 year, and they go about studying about a particular occupation, the experience shows that within the first 3 months, these apprentices, as they continue to learn and to train, they will already start contributing to the service delivery of the company and also producing products. And therefore, already they are contributing to income generation activity. And therefore, it's only just right that at least they also get being compensated. Then the second element is that depending on the background of an apprentice, you say you don't want maybe to, even compensate them by uniform or food. They might be coming from a poor family, and they might not be having money for food. And the employer is not really even to compensate for that. Or sometimes they might actually miss one because they don't have transport. So these are some of the social protection measures that we say need to be integrated. But as to amount, percentage, this is subject to dialogue at the country level when they're developing the problem. I hope I clarified that. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Okam. At this point, I want to extend my gratitude to you for joining this meeting and sharing your experiences with us. We are very, very grateful to you and to ILO for supporting Kenya Skills Development Community of Practice through the Prosperous Project, and pass our regards to everyone in ILO, including Caroline Juki and Geoffrey. And thank you very much for joining. We'll be coming back to you for more technical support as we have started this journey of implementing quality apprenticeship in Kenya. I request now we applaud Okam with a round of applause. Feel appreciated in South Africa. Enjoy your stay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. At this point, I want us to take more of remarks than questions because of time. And as I indicated, I said we will start with the TSC, then we come to NITA. And in case there is someone joining us online from KenQA, kindly indicate your presence so that we can respond. You can pass a mic to Madam as she comes forward. I was just thinking about this quality apprenticeship. We usually talk about having this managerial training, leadership training. Suppose you go to an institution to train as a manager, and we attach you to our Director General for 6 months for leadership or management course. Where do you think you learn more? If you become an apprentice today of your own CEO, and if you go somewhere, where do you think you gain more? So let us also think on how at our own organization we can implement this form of quality apprenticeship, which can lead maybe partner with institutions and have MOU and migrate to a qualification. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wanyeki. And I also want to greet us once more. I know that for those of us who have joined us later. So colleagues and our presenters, good morning. I say I am Mary Kakutri and I represent Teachers Service Commission. I want to appreciate every deliberation that has taken place. I must admit and confess that I have learned new things this morning. And I appreciate them so much. I appreciate what's happening in the space in this country to do with skills development. That is really commendable. But at this point, allow me, Daktari, to also express my disappointment as an educator in this country. I am waited to hear us link the discussion to the national goals of education. Because this country, since independence, the commission that was headed by Omile established a number of national goals of education. Over a time, we have embossed them in books, but we have linked our training, our education, and learning from those goals. And even the most basic, we have not yet attained them. I will not say that the teachers have done anything better, but at this point, I want to just persuade us that as we take this route, as we get concerned about the skills mismatch with the industry, we consider linking this training, this apprenticeship, the internships, the attachments to the national goals of education. Because even if I have to ask here, probably very few of us will be able to tell us those national goals of education. Ukweli ama uongo? Do we know those, that there is a reason as to why this country has schools, and the reason why we take our children to school? Do we know why?
Yes, I know they can't recall maybe all the 8 goals of education, but they recall some few, 1 or 2 or 3.
Thank you so much. Yes, sir?
My understanding for what you talked about the commission, I think there was summarized into 3. Of course, on our daily, sometimes it's about memorization into the, I think, 6 or 7, but I think they were summarized into 3. It was for wealth creation, promote national unity, and human capital development.
Can we appreciate him?
Yes, I appreciate him, and one of the 8 is national unity.
National unity. There is something also to do with individual development and self-reliance, isn't it? And so where we are at this point, I think the dual apprenticeship and the apprenticeship program as a whole is to help an individual get to a point where they are able to rely on themselves, isn't it? So at that point then, I just want to give us a small background so that we can now begin to talk. That it is because it is on that foundation of the goals of education, the Ministry of Education has a very structured curriculum for the basic education. This curriculum at the moment is known as the competency-based curriculum, which is developed by Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development. Teacher Service Commission comes in to implement that curriculum. And therefore, the TSC, for it to implement adequately this structured curriculum, we have standards that are already established that the teachers must possess. And also the entry, training, entry, education for them to implement the curriculum well. It is, again, upon the Teacher Service Commission to register every qualified teacher in this country. And it is an offense for anyone to be found in a learning institution that is basic, whether private or public, without a valid registration. It is now, because of this, that my sister within highlights the disconnect of the Teacher Service Commission and what we are hearing here. That we have the CBET certification, we have the university certification, we have the higher education certification, and they are not at any point linked. That she is contributing to a training levy. Teacher Service Commission is contributing to a training levy. But when we look, because of the nature of the work, the nature of the labor market, the nature of the teacher, and the size, we find that there's something that is not clear. And I want now to request that we begin to think of how then can we create synergy? Can we have our coordinated and a seamless process where the learner in this country, where our daughters and sons will enter into the labor market with full knowledge of what is expected of them? How do we synchronize our training from basic education so that we build from that foundation that is already established in the basic learning institutions, so that there's a clear pathway? I am sure we have children, we have learners now in school. There are those in primary, in junior school, and from senior school, there are those pathways that have already been predetermined. And the pathways are either sports, either STEM, or social sciences. As they exit from these pathways, how do we guide them? How do we guide them? And the issue of career guidance comes in. At the moment, we have no teacher training institution where teachers are being taught on what the industry wants or how the factories look like. No one. So even where we have teachers whom we term as career guidance teachers, they are also not very well equipped. And they don't understand what is there because we have just identified them. These outgoing people like me, like Mudel, like Lucy here, and we are like, hey, because this one looks like they know so much, wacha tumpatie asaidia hawa wanafunzi kuchagua which pathway to follow. And I don't think that is the best way to go, colleagues. At some point, it really pains me when I see the youth like from where I come from or from the periphery of this city. Because here in Nairobi we have so much information, so much. But when you get out of Nairobi, the story is so different. The learner or the boys and girls who are in the alcohol dens and the drugs, they have like lost hope and they don't know what exists outside them. Nobody goes for them. No one goes to tell them that we can place you here and you lead a painful sort of life. I want to echo the words of Mr. Khan. Can we get to link? Let us link everything that we are doing from one point. I know at the ministry, there's a State Department for Skills Development in the Ministry of Labor. And I now am so excited to hear and to learn that we also have the Kenya Skills Development Community of Practice. That delights my heart. I don't know how we are going now to make this work, but can we link up then with the State Department for Skills Development, with the Ministry of Labor, with Lucy at NITA, and spend that training levy that factories have paid, employers have paid, and see how we can then make use of the learner who has been forgotten somewhere. Can we have some synergy, some correlation between these parties the Ministry of Education, Teachers Service Commission, can we establish those Office of Career Guidance and train teachers? Now, because these ones are trained, can we have some apprenticeship for the already qualified and employed teachers who can be brought up and brought to a level of, we understand what the manufacturers want, what the hotel industry wants, what the hospitality industry wants, so that even at school, after senior school, they also will not want even to proceed in the pathways. We can get these ones, guide them, tell them that this path also exists. We have this debate, we have these courses, we have the training, we have the vocational that you can attain. Can we provide this information in a structured way, building on already existing curricula, standards, and creating linkages that are already established, so that we don't operate like there has been a vacuum which we are coming in to fill. Am I speaking to someone? Would you give me the clap? I want to register my commission secretary's greetings. She sent her greetings to this gathering. The Director, Human Resource Management and Development, Teacher Service Commission, also sent his greetings. And I was tasked to go back with clear recommendations of this breakfast. And therefore, at the end of this, I'll be requesting maybe for some write-up so that I can also go with some information that is synchronized and that appears like this gathering. I've learned so much from here, but I want to have some write-up for this so that I also take back some good feedback. I want to congratulate the organizers of this workshop and commit that Teacher Service Commission will continually participate in this, because the person that we want to take at the level of TVET is the person who has been molded at basic level. And it is the teacher who is molding this learning. There are some core competencies that the teacher is imparting. There are some core values that the teacher is imparting at basic level. And therefore, we also want to tap into those skills. So let's create linkages and we shall walk the journey together. With those very many remarks, I want to say thank you so much. God bless.
Thank you. Let us appreciate Mwalimu. And Gideon, we are learning something. We need to be bringing more employers so that as we are doing this, they also come on board when we are introducing new training programs, new certificate, RPL, dual, so that they start appreciating and understanding what they are. So that when it comes to employment, they don't ask you, how did you learn in an industry? So that was very, very informative and we'll keep on. Now, Nita. And issues with the teachers and politicians is that they like the microphone. Make it summary.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wanyeki, for the opportunity. My name is Lucy Wamoko. I work with the National Industrial Training Authority. I don't know, it's fortunately or unfortunately, I'm a teacher by profession, so just allow me some latitude. I'd like to speak to some areas of concern that have been highlighted in the presentations, and just to clarify the position as far as data is concerned in apprenticeship training in this country. Industrial training was established in Kenya in 1925 as a reintegration tool for soldiers who were coming back from the First World War to obtain skills to allow them to earn or to fit into the society and be able to earn a living for themselves. The Industrial Training Act came into being in 1963, and in 1971 an amendment was made to incorporate the regulation of apprenticeship and indentured learnership in this country. And then a further amendment to the Act in 2011 established the National Industrial Training Authority. Prior to that, we were the Directorate of Industrial Training under the Ministry of Labour and Social Protection. So apprenticeship training has been with us for a while. If we were to base it from the onset of industrial training, then next year we will be 100 years old. So I am concerned when I hear that there is no legislation, there is no legal framework 100 years later. It makes me very concerned that probably what my sister from KEPSA said, that the left hand does not know what the right hand is doing in government. Because we have occupied that space and we still continue to do that. The core function of the authority is regulation of training at the workplace under what is known as the National Industrial Training Schemes of Apprenticeship, Indentured Learnership, Industrial Attachment, Skill Upgrading, and finally the Graduate Apprenticeship Program. So everything we are saying here, although we are using different words, we are saying the same thing. It doesn't matter whether we're borrowing from the Ugandan perspective, from South Africa, etc. Apprenticeship is already here with us. Now, I think in somewhere along the way, in that history that I've mentioned, there was the introduction of the Industrial Training Levy Fund, which anybody who is an employer in this country is expected to make contributions. The 50 shillings per person per month, that is administered through KRA, but for purposes of addressing your training needs. Now, our Act speaks about 4 people: an attachee, an apprentice, an indentured learner, and the worker. And that is what we exist to regulate. And these people are found at the workplace. So, when a lot of what has been said, I just want to put across the position of the authority that apprenticeship is not new. I was hoping that my good friend Gideon, now Menidoroga, where you are sitting here next to me, would be able to bring out the difference between the dual training and apprenticeship as defined by ILO. I think you gave us a politically correct answer, but you didn't quite, okay, maybe I should manage my expectations, I don't know. I expected more. I did not get that, because the issue of an apprentice speaks to training at the workplace. You talked about master craftspersons vis-a-vis mentors, and I was left lost because I know that we are doing something with Swiss Contact, and the people at the workplace, they refer to them as mentors, we refer to them as in-company trainers, and different other people call them different things. So you kind of lost me at when you say the difference. I still don't know what the difference is. And I thought probably this would be an opportunity for us to unpack that, because probably we're just doing the same thing and baptizing it different names. So having mentioned what the legal support, the framework that exists, then I'd like to mention about the sessional paper number 2 of 2023 in the reorganization of government, that gave the powers of the implementation of the National Apprenticeship Policy to the Ministry of Labour and Social Protection, State Department of Labour and Skills Development, which is where NITA falls squarely. So when you mention about a policy that is now probably at the CS's desk in a different ministry, I am again lost. Because I think we are way past that point. Unless the government has been reorganized, and forgive me for this, I'm not very sure how this would be going to the Ministry of Education. There has to be a serious reorganization in government. And I am yet Okay, I stand aside. But as of 2023, that role is squarely in the Ministry of Labor, in the State Department of Labor and Skills Development. And I wish our colleagues were here, Dr. Wajio and her team probably. So having said that, I am not negating what has been achieved. I think this is a very good initiative. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. But above that, we must find a way to work together. The industry does not belong to NITA, it does not belong to TVETA, it does not belong to any of the other players in education and training. And if we are not meeting the needs of the industry, then at some point we will have to account for why we exist. And KEPSA and my friend from and other players will be put to task by members. So then why are we contributing to industrial training levy and many other levies probably that will be there? For purposes of industrial training levy, the levy has benefits to employers. It is a levy and not a tax for a reason. The levy is supposed to support the cost against training, whether under apprenticeship, initial leadership, industrial attachment, skill upgrading, or skill upgrading. The graduate apprenticeship program has benefits under the Income Tax Act through KRA and informed by tax rebate. Now the benefits for employers include a reimbursement of the wages that are paid. The question of funding has been mentioned here. And the funding, the wages are marked against the gazetted minimum wage in this country. So depending on the duration of the training, the apprentice earns a percentage of that, beginning at probably 40% to 100% if they are going on for a longer period. Because by the time an apprentice is with you, between 6 to 12 months, they are partially productive, so they are expected to be compensated in terms of what they do. So it is expected that they are earning a percentage of the minimum gazetted wage rate for that level that they are pursuing a qualification for. Over and above the wages, the cost of training in an institution, that is the tuition, the accommodation, and the assessment cost, because we all are alive to apprenticeship leads to a national qualification. So for purposes of supporting that, there is an assessment fee. And in NITA, when we registered our qualifications with KNQA for the KNQF, the Kenya National Qualification Framework, we gave 2 qualifications under NITA. Number 1, what we are famously known for, the government trade test, that at that point was grade 3, 2, and 1. But since then, we have introduced 4 additional levels because NITA's qualifications are between level 2 to level 8. So now we have professional master craftsperson 3, 2, 1, master craftsperson 3, 2, and 1, and professional master craftsperson at level 8. So that is out of the way. Apprenticeship programs are under the second qualification that we registered, known as the National Skills Certificate, that runs from NSE 1 to NSE 7 on level 2 to level 8 on the Kenya National Qualification Framework. So the issue of what qualification they get, etc., for us, it is very clear because it is already mapped out. I think the missing link is information dissemination. While the industry is familiar with DTT, the government trade test, they may not be very sure what National Skills Certificate is, and probably other qualifications from other qualification awarding institutions. But that is already in place, and NITA has registered that on KNQF. And recently, I think there was a review of the framework. The authority still feels that as far as we are concerned, there is room for discussion in terms of where our qualifications have been mapped. Therefore, we had done a memorandum to KNQA and we'll be going back to revisiting that issue in terms of where we have been placed and the issue of making it nationally known that we have both the government trade test and the national skills certificate. So, other costs that are borne from the industry training levy, I said wages, the tuition, the accommodation, the assessment. If books are required, that will also be supported. These costs are reimbursable, and the travel cost where apprentices are moving from the workplace to the institution for purposes of learning, the initial movement, and at the conclusion of the training, that is also reimbursable and metered. So I think I've mentioned the progressive pathway because of the National Skills Certificate and the GTT framework and the legislation that exists and the benefits that employers are supposed to accrue by being contributors to industrial training benefits. Madam Mary from TSC has talked about the way forward. I think we all came here with the hope that we will be able to do that. But as we go back to where we came from, we can be able to report and say that this is where we are. I hope Dr. Wanyeki is part of the expectations of today. So that we can also begin to unpack the challenge that has been thrown to all of us in terms of how we are preparing ourselves to onboard the CBC in terms of the reorganization of the education structure in this country. Having said that, on behalf of the Director General of NITA, Madam Teresa Wasike, and the Director Industry Training and Skills Development, Madam Jane Kamau, I thank you for the opportunity, the invitation, and the good work that is being done here. I think this is timely. We just need to close a few gaps between ourselves in terms of tightening and understanding what you do, what we do. And as far as the quality is concerned, we complement each other. We are not in competition because the industry is one. We must do what is right for the industry, otherwise we cease to exist, or the functions that we hold then are meaningless to the industry. Unless I have forgotten something that my colleague would like to add, or maybe I could say this as I conclude. The RPL value chain on the promotion of training, as mentioned about dual training and the TVET, and apprenticeship training and the NITA. So I'm still looking forward to someone to shed some light in terms of the difference or moving forward, how we go about it. Do we need to rename it to encompass all of us, or how do we move forward? With that, I thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. And she has ushered us to the last part of this, which is way forward. And I remember, as I mentioned, the community of practice was doing this to organize this discussion, to organize this forum, and amongst it, as it was mentioned by ILO, the quality apprenticeship recommendation was passed last year, 2023, about August. So this is among their first forum where they are now sensitizing Kenyans about recommendation 208. So one of the objectives that we'll go and report back is about recommendation 208, what it says and how it can be implemented in Kenya. So that will be one of the things that we'll report, because that's why they brought us an expert from Victoria to do the same. So that will be one of the major. And maybe what I'll be doing is I'll be requesting Okal to send the PowerPoint presentation, so that from it now, when you go back, you can sensitize the organization about recommendation 208, its provision, and how it can be implemented. I know maybe they had various other forums where they did the same, but for this, that's how we had worked with them. But I want to take the way forward from the floor. What is it that we can do from here? First, the second way forward, as I'm waiting to see hands rising up, is that I think this forum was just introduction to recommendation 208. I think we need to organize another discussion where maybe we come and push forward and maybe come up with concrete action points. So I think maybe this one was more of introductory, but we might need another workshop. If it's a way forward agreed by you, we can organize in another date, maybe next year, early January or February. We have another forum where we can come and discuss more. I've seen a hand there for way forward and a hand here. So you can listen to the way forward.
Good morning. Again, mine may not be a way forward, but I was just working because the recommendation was passed last year, and as a Public Service Commission, we've been having this program of internship. And I've listened to the presentation. Now realize we have guidelines, we compensate our interns, but we may be lacking some things. So how going forward, how can we turn the internship into quality apprenticeship and maybe be in line with the ILO's recommendation to it? Thank you.
Thank you. And just to steal a word for you, that ILO is very much interested in what you are doing. So as a way forward here, Public Service Commission, you can approach ILO. They are willing to support that program to mutate to quality apprenticeship. So that is one of their major interests, because from their own market survey analysis, you tick most of the boxes you have seen. So you just need some small support from them, and maybe it becomes one of those programs. So they have a lot of interest in that. So that can be one of the way forward here. We can recommend to them that this is one of the low-lying fruits. This is part of the program that they can provide technical and financial support maybe to move it to the level of quality apprenticeship. So the other program is maybe TSC. You might also have interest with your internship program. You have an internship program. You might also start thinking on how to transform it to quality apprenticeship. Yes, there's a hand there.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon to you, sir.
Nakatari tumechoka. Now, when it comes to dual TVET, quality apprenticeship, whichever name you want to give it, what I know, it works. I'm a product of that system. And because somebody went beyond their job descriptions. Allow me to take a few minutes to just expound what I mean. I did my degree in mechanical and production engineering at Moi University. One of the requirements at Moi University is you have to go for industrial attachment 3 times, because it's a 5-year course. So you have the workshop practice at 2nd year, you have the 3rd year industrial attachment, 4th year industrial attachment, and before graduation, you have another attachment. On my first industrial attachment, I was posted to Kirby, which is a parastatal. So when I got there, we went like any other person goes for attachment. But by good luck, we had one gentleman called Engineer Alphonse Nzeki. He's not your ordinary employee. He's not your ordinary government employee. He's one person who takes his job like that is his calling. And what did he do to us? We were about 4 people. The very first thing he did to us was to introduce us to what industry requires. Not the theory, not the definition of terms and principles. He took us straight to what is called inventor and how it can change the industry. So whereas I went in with a mindset of drawing boards and T-squares and all that, but by the time I left that place, I knew how to install Autodesk in a computer, how to make a drawing from that computer, and how to use that drawing for production. In other words, by the time I was done with my 3-month stay there, already I knew how to cut down the production time from 7 days to 1 hour. Secondly, by the time I was leaving Kirby, I already knew exactly what I want to do, where I want to be, and how I'm going to get there. So by that year, I already knew I was not running for first class. I was not chasing second class upper division. I knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. How? Because somebody showed me that it is beyond passing exams. It is beyond just sitting there and competing with your next person. It is about what differences are you going to make? What value are you bringing to the industry? We have been accustomed to this culture of competition, that unless he fails, I cannot succeed. Unless the other person fails, you cannot succeed. And a majority of us, those who go through the 844 system, that is what we understand. That there has to be someone who is number one, there has to be someone who is number two, and there has to be number last. So if you're number last, you're a failure. Despite whatever you know or you don't know. We are in a system that judges the monkey and the elephant on their ability to climb trees. That is where we are. That we want to say the elephant is stupid because it can't climb a tree. It's not a one-size-fits-all for all of us. It is 10 years down the line from graduation. I already have 2 companies to my name. Right now, I've trained about 4 dual TVET students, and now I have 4 that I'm also training. And I'm willing to take more, because I know that as a country we are not looking for papers, we are not looking for graduates who've gone out of school. We are looking to solutions to our problems as a country. And that is what hurts me the most. That we have people who have, those who have power have no idea what we need. And those who don't have the power have the ideas on what we need. That is the most painful part.
Allow me to come in at that point. Now, in the interest of time, since you have ideas, give us a strong way forward.
Good. I have 2 strong ways forward. Number 1, how do we build the capacity for industries to provide areas of training? The various institutions, the players who are here, for instance, I am in the HVAC sector. I service ACs, I supply air conditioners, I do mortuaries, I do kitchen equipment. You as an institution, these are things you also use. Can you give me a job so that I get more opportunities to get more trainees into my company? Number 2, teachers and lecturers who are here, don't be too comfortable. We have product activations, we have service seminars. Can you also join in? We live in a global village today. You can log into a Zoom meeting from your school in the staff room and attend an LG product activation so that you understand, as a lecturer who teaches air conditioning, what is there in the industry. Stop using the notes that you used in 1921. That's what you keep recycling. And you have no idea that the industry has moved from your conventional air conditioners to AI-controlled air conditioners. So this disconnect is not going to happen miraculously unless we intentionally decide that we want to make a change on the P to PC. What do I mean by that? You cannot, if your cow produces 20 liters of milk a day, you cannot wake up one day and say, I will not milk this cow for 5 days, and then on the 5th day I will go and expect 100 liters. It can never happen. It can never happen. Even if you are going to do magic, it will never happen. So let's be very realistic. What can we produce? What's our production capacity as a country? You need 100 engineers. Do you have place for them? Do you have the required training opportunities for them? And I don't need to brag. Today, I left school, I did mechanical engineering. All I know about HVAC system, I learned on YouTube. Refrigeration and air conditioning was 1 unit in all the units I did in college. Every year I had 16 units. So for 5 years, I did 80 units, and only 1 was refrigeration. So you have 1 out of 80. And that 1 out of 80 is what pays my bills today. That 1 out of 80 is what feeds my children today. That 1 out of 80 is what provides the resources I need. What is my point? It is not about being politically right. It's about understanding where is our problem and then taking off the gloves and getting to the muddy water to solve the problems. We cannot play safe forever. Honestly, we cannot play safe forever. Let's value the children that are coming after us so that we change this country for the better. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And being an alumni also of Moi University on almost a very similar program, I want to thank Moi University for instilling in you the act of lifelong learning. You see, even if they taught you 3 units, still will not be sufficient. But that lifelong learning that they impacted on you, that you will continue learning as even things change. Because even today as we are speaking, the technology is changing in air conditioning, and you need to continue learning. So, thank you very much. Yes. One, then one. Kindly be brief, 30 seconds, because you can see we are running out of time.
Certainly, I'll be very brief. Good afternoon. My name is Dennis Okamba, again from the E-Mobility Association. I'm also an electric vehicle specialist. Again, hearing that story takes me back to high school when I designed my first electric vehicle. Yeah, and again, it was through physics. Then during campus, did urban planning, but went into focusing transportation planning and design. So whatever you see today, the electric buses on the road are been part of that. That's also speaking to something. How do we tap into specialization and also emerging technologies? Yeah. Today there are so many things that are shifting, including AI. For electric vehicles, the value chain is quite low. Starting from batteries, motors, controllers, software. But do we start entrenching these in the tertiary level, or you're also looking at, because of CPC, you might see this transition even happening much faster and quicker. So my point is, how can we start integrating emerging technologies earlier on and making sure that specialization takes place? I think that's my key focus, that we have so many opportunities today. If you want to industrialize, I believe all of us want to industrialize. And we must be focused 30 years from now. We'll be having flying cars, we'll be having driverless cars, we'll be maintaining these vehicles. Today we are running short courses on e-mobility training, just for creating understanding. But looking at the gathering today, it's my first time to come, inviting me. I see we have an opportunity delving into different topics when it comes to emerging technologies, not these electric vehicles. Because I'm sure in 10 years, every one of us here will have EV. I can guarantee you that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And since we don't have a lot of institutions training on e-mobility, that's where we strongly need quality apprenticeship so that we develop workforce. There's a hand. Yeah. So that's I think our last way forward from the floor.
Thank you. Mine is very quick. So first of all, I just want to pick up from what Model said. I don't know if there's an opportunity for you to speak to Ken Kiwe about this pathway and the transition for dual Tibet and the quality apprenticeship. And then secondly, I still see what Madam C was talking about as an issue. So if there's a way, maybe the departments can sit with NITA and find a way to, I know maybe we may not be able to harmonize, but at least just find a way to work together. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That was not a way forward, but more of we will talk to Ken. Actually, they are supposed to be here, but as I mentioned today, they have a major function. they are doing stakeholders public participation of their regulations. Remember, their regulations was not passed through Parliament. They were requested to go and amend them. So today they are doing public participation. That's why they are not here. But as I said, one of the way forward was that if you approve, we organize another breakfast meeting as soon as possible, most likely early January or February, so that we can come again together and discuss more. Because now we will not have the presentation, we'll have more time of our own discussion, maybe 2 or 3 panel discussion for 30 minutes, then we collapse into this. But we will take the sentiments from here to KMQA so that they can be addressing them. So I think unless there is online participants, any way forward, Billy, I saw at some point you had your hand up. You have a way forward. Dr. Billy? Okay, it seems we don't have any concern from the online participant. So with that, our main purpose for today was for ILO to sensitize us about recommendation 208. So if you can go back with that and say this is how quality apprenticeship is implemented, how do we think it can be implemented, and the rest, they talked of legal frameworks, and we require legal frameworks. Lucy said we had legal framework, Gideon said he's coming up with another legal framework. So those are the things we need, and he said it's a challenge. So those are the things that we are organizing such forum so that it can be addressed through dialogue. At that point, unless there's something more, I want to turn into talk.
Thank you, thank you, Dr. Aneki, and all of us, both those who are joining online and those who are within the venue. So, can we give ourselves a round of applause? Yeah, thank you so much. You bet that this is a very, very interactive session, and there's a lot to discuss on this. And I think as part of the way forward, we are taking that. And as suggested by Dr. Aneki, I think we'll be able to organize another breakfast meeting where we can, have deeper engagement on this very, very important and also interesting area. So allow me to bring this to a close, and I want to just go to the last part of this breakfast meeting. You'll allow me to invite one member who is also one of us who's a member of the co-working group to pass a vote of thanks to all of us. After that, we'll have one of us also closing with our prayer. Others from the organizers, we want to really say thank you so much for honoring our call to be here, and also for the participation and for the engagement. You see, it's very enriching. We're learning, and we're doing this for the good of the person, the Kenyan person who needs to develop their skills for the benefit of our country. So you'll allow me to invite Janet Mutemi from the State Department of Industry to pass a word of thanks on behalf of the co-working group. Janet, kindly come forward. I hope I get your name right, Janet. Huh? Catherine, sorry. 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 Kindly, sorry.
Good morning, it's good afternoon. My name is Catherine Maina. I'm a member of the Technical Working Group for the KSD, Community of Practice. I also work as a trainer generally for the STEAM projects, housing cafe. So I'll briefly pass my vote of thanks. So on behalf of all the attendees present here and those online, I would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to those who have made this breakfast meeting on quality apprenticeship in Kenya a success. First and foremost, I wish to thank our esteemed keynote speakers and panelists for the insightful presentations and contributions. Mr. Albert William Okar, Regional Forced Displacement Skills and Employment Specialist, ILO, represented by Geoffrey Ochala, Ms. Jane by Mugish, Executive Director, Uganda Hotel Owners Association, and Mr. Gideon Murenga, Senior Chivet in Labor Market Specialist, GIZ Chivet Project. Your wealth of knowledge and practical recommendations have not only enriched our understanding of quality apprenticeship, but have also inspired us to take meaningful action to improve skills development in Kenya. To our gracious host, Boma Hotel, thank you for creating this platform to bring together stakeholders from diverse sectors. The meticulous planning and coordination that went into these events are evident. The food and ambience have been great. To our sponsors, ILO, we deeply appreciate your generous support, which made this gathering possible. Your commitment to advancing education skills and youth employment demonstrates the leadership needed to drive sustainable development. Finally, to all attendees, thank you for all your participation, questions, and perspectives. Your enthusiasm and commitment to this cause are the building blocks of meaningful partnership and impactful programs that will shape the future of Kenya's workforce. As we conclude, let us remember that the conversations we've had today must be translated into concrete actions. Together we can ensure that apprenticeships in Kenya are not just opportunities for learning, but are pathways to economic empowerment, inclusivity, and sustainable growth. Thank you once again, and I wish you all continued success in your endeavors. Let us keep working together to build a bright future for Kenya. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Catherine. Okay, tupigie makofi tena. Asante sana. So I want to, unless maybe you're guided that any announcement, but from the floor, Dr. Waneki announced that maybe shortly again we'll be having another breakfast meeting on the 5th of December. Now targeting on the area of sector skills. That is coming. So again, we'll be calling on the stakeholders for engagement in that area. And again, as I said, maybe again early next year we'll still have another breakfast meeting on the topic of today. Others, we want to thank you so much. Unless there is any other, before we close with our prayer, if there's any. Okay, I'm informed there's nothing, so I want to again thank you so much. Wish you all the best, and apologies for going beyond our time. I think we had planned to be done by 11:30, but we are 50 minutes late. But nevertheless, thank you for your indulgence. We still have breakfast after the prayer. Please don't leave. We can still have a bite before we leave. So allow me to invite Samuel Kikemoy to say the closing prayer, and then we'll be free to leave at our pleasure. Thank you so much, and have a good weekend as you started the weekend today. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tom. Let's all stand up as we say this eternal anthem. Heavenly Father, in the name of Jesus Christ, the name that is above every other name, we worship you and honor you. We thank you because you have taken us through this worship, right from the beginning to the end. We pray that the resolutions of this worship and this breakfast meeting, my dear Father, shall be put into practice for the betterment of our nation. We thank you for every participant, and as we go back to our places of work, we commit ourselves to remain strong practitioners in skills development. In Jesus' name, we do pray and believe. Amen. God bless you all.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Online participants, thank you so much. We can have a thumbs up for those who are joining us online. Thank you. Thank you.